Hello, everybody. It's Matt and Ant doing our thing, just having a little bit of a pre-show here. It's been a week or so since we've done any type of show whatsoever, really. So, Ant, how you doing, mate?
Oh, well, it's been a day for me.
It's been a day for you. It's been a week since I've seen you, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm all right. Feeling a lot better this week after my illness last week. So yeah, not complaining. Not complaining.
Good, good. Our thanks to Derek Bo Barrack in the Twitch chat, resubscribing with Prime, his ninth month. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Makes a big, big difference to us. Helps us pay for all of the equipment and subscriptions and stuff we have to do to keep this thing going. So much, much appreciated. Got an interesting show for you guys today. It's going to be, I think, just me and Ant with you until we've got Jags Across the Ponds coming on with us, but we don't know when because they're doing their own show at the same time as us. So I've just said to the guy, let us know when you finished yours and finished editing and whatever. I'll give you a link. You can hop on then. It may well be that we've kind of signed off from the show and then I'll have to tack that on at the end. So it might be that we chat for a bit, or depending on what Ant's doing, he may go and then I may just do that interview by myself. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed it all happens well. John Ball says, seems like forever since we've been on, since the Lions played. How healthy are you, Ant Man? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I've just got a nagging cough now, but it's not been that bad today. So I'm hoping I'll get through this without spluttering all over the place.
Mm. If you guys have any questions, as always, get them in. It'd be good to hear from you. We'll get those questions
Ooh.
answered. What's up?
Blake Corum is having knee surgery. He is done. His college career is over. That is going to be interesting. I don't know how bad it is.
That sucks for a good homegrown talent.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it sucks. Bell, Darthwork, Drew, John Ball, Micro Mike, all in the YouTube chat. Flyard Condor also in the Twitch chat as well as Derek. Hey, what's up, everybody? Shame for Blake Corum. I'm convinced. People know that although I don't have a college team, that I do have sympathies with Michigan. That I have a shirt from there. It's not like I am biased against them. I really do believe that Corum is an early day three talent. I, he does everything well without being remarkable at anything. Like he's at the college level better than most people that are on the field. I just fear that when he comes up against NFL talent and they're faster and stronger than he is, that he's going to suffer there.
I can I can hear I can hear Wolverine Nation silently, angeringly bubbling at that one. There's too many running backs in the draft this year. You don't need to spend a high pick on a draft unless you go for the top two guys. Outside of the top two guys, there is no need to spend big on somebody. And he's likely you likely need to spend a little bit bigger on him. So no.
It's funny how two people at exactly the same time give the exact same comment. Flyard Condor and Micro Mike, both at the same time in the chat, basically both saying, welcome to Detroit, Blake Corum. Brad Holmes loves those injured players.
Brad Holmes loves high ceiling players. I don't get that vibe about Blake being a top 10 running back in the NFL. Um,
The thing about
so I
Edwards,
wouldn't I wouldn't I wouldn't I don't think he falls within the purview of Brad Holmes' talent thing. Now, who was the other one who got crocked? Trying to think of the corner who got crocked in the Big Ten. He is in Brad Holmes' range. I can't remember the
mm,
name. I'm dumb, but you've got to have a incredibly high ceiling for Brad Holmes to pick you injured. So
yeah.
Corum doesn't have that.
John Ball says, who's the running back from Texas? There's only one running back from Texas.
Bijan,
Bijan. Yeah,
Bijan
the
is
clear.
his ceiling is Barry. So that's kind of where you're at with him. his ceiling is Barry.
I know
So
that you weren't really doing the college show before this time, so it might be hard for you to comp the college careers of these two players, but what do you make on Bijan versus Saquon?
mm,
Because, like, as draft prospects coming out, obviously Saquon goes number 2 overall, potentially one of the most high profile running backs to come out ever. And
think it.
I think Bijan's almost there. I would still say Saquon was the better prospect, but it's really close.
See, there was a day and age when Penn State made elite running backs all the time. I mean, Miles Sanders is from there as well, so you kind of can trust that you're going to get a really good running back from there. It's a school that does them well. It's like with Penn State defenders for the most part. You're picking them high, you're getting value for them because they're just such a great school of developing them. But
Does Joey Porter
I
Jr.
mean,
play there? Is that
Joey Porter Jr. plays at
Penn?
Penn State.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, put it this way: if there's a round one cornerback coming to Detroit this year, he's coming from the Big Ten. So it's either going to be Porter Jr. or
Or
Witherspoon.
Witherspoon. Well, or
So
it could be Keely Ringo, right?
he's not Big Ten.
No, but he is a round one corner.
He's gonna, yeah, but Keely's like a top 10 pick. I don't know whether our top 10 pick is going to go elsewhere. I think Keely's too high. Joey and Devin you'll get probably with that mid-teens pick that the Lions are going to have.
I don't think
Uh,
that Ringo's going to be top 10.
I think Keely's top 10. I honestly do. He's transcendent.
I agree with you that he should be top 10, but because of the wealth of talent at round one cornerback, they might all slide because there's no FOMO. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't get Ringo, you can get Porter or Witherspoon or Gonzalez or there's loads of them that are round one talents this year. So it's like, if there's no fear of missing out, you can afford to maybe take someone else.
See, you had the same argument with wide receivers last year, and I told you there were going to be seven of them, and there were six of them.
Yeah, you were
The
right.
the thing is, it doesn't matter if there's lots of them. There's good ones and there's not so good ones, and he's very damn good coming from a very good defense. So corners are plenty this year, but Keely's top 10 pick for me because there's not that many quarterbacks knocking round, so your top 10 is going to look a bit different.
Our thanks as well to Cool Down Rat on Twitch, who has also resubscribed with Prime. That's his 6th month. Thank you very much, sir. Makes, like I said to Derek as well, a massive difference to us being able to make our running costs for this thing. So much, much appreciated. Have you seen the episode planner? My name for the episode is shit as always. So if anyone in the chat has a good idea for a Jags related pun for the episode name, because mine is shocking. I'm just not good at this. It's not my thing.
I've not even looked. Maybe just don't give it a name. Just give it an episode number.
Oh, I can't do that. Like even
Oh,
giving a
but
bad.
but you can.
Yeah,
Oh, but you
maybe.
can.
I think this works if you're northern, and I'm not northern.
Oh dear God. I'm sorry, folks. We're not going live until I sort this.
Sutlaw.
Oh
Come
God.
on.
No. 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 You're insulting comedy and you're insulting half a country at the same
Oh,
time.
jeez. Comedy. I didn't realise I was insulting an institution.
You're insulting what it is to be comedic. Oh, good God.
Oh, man. So, for you guys in the chat, the episode title as it stands
Gosh.
is Laying Down Tut Law. Which is
They won't
just.
get that.
No, tut
They
means
won't get.
the, but it's spelt T apostrophe, which could be Trevor.
It's basically Matt insulting people from my area of the country.
Tut Law.
So
And go down Tut Pit and have.
you may
Tut
as well
Copper
you
Coffee.
may as well just go with something like more Jones than a Welsh phone book at this rate.
And
Because
to be
they
fair,
do.
yeah, Marvin and Zay and one other.
You know,
There's another
well,
one.
at least if you're going to insult people, it's at least insult the country outside of here.
Yeah.
Not part of this one.
True. Questions. John Ball says maybe JJ Blooms now after Ohio game, no more 5-yard overthrows. No chance of that. I think JJ might get there by this time next year. I would say about McCarthy that he has shown enough that if he takes a leap next year, he'll be a legit round one quarterback. But he's not there yet.
He's not even close.
He's shown enough to be mentioned on QB watch lists for next year. And that's pretty much it. But he's not been so bad that he's like, oh, this guy's undraftable. It's not like he's DJ Uiagalelei, who's just a UDFA in waiting. He's just atrocious.
But everyone's been putting the video up of his first touchdown pass the other day. I'm sorry, that is all 100% Cornelius Johnson.
What a game he had too. Cornelius was off the scale.
I mean, Ryan Day, whoever made the decision for them to sell the house and the next 3 mortgages on that play, he left no one deep down the field. And all Cornelius had to do was break 1 tackle, and then it was a 75-odd yard trip to the house. It was an insanely bad play call. It was a good throw. I'll give him that, but Cornelius did all the work for that. It's like that ain't a JJ throw. That's a wide receiver play. That is, and the rest busted coverages. He only threw 50% at the end of the day. So
yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a great day for him, but he made the clutch throws when they mattered, and that was the difference, really.
So that chump from CBS ranks him 3rd in college football above CJ Stroud.
No. That is not how you should read those power rankings. It's not.
It's a power ranking scale.
Yeah, power rankings isn't equal to talent.
What do you think it is for individual players then?
I think it's how hot have you been this year compared to how good are you really. Like,
he's still not 3rd.
No, but the thing is, if you ask the same guy to rank those players in terms of where he thinks they should go in the draft, I bet you it would be different. This is at the college level, how have you done this year? The power rankings in the NFL, when you look team by team, are not how good are all of these teams. They're where... How good have you played this year? Because otherwise the point in the power rankings is just... Like, if... Yeah, anyway... Never mind. Jags caged by a lion. Yeah. But Flyod Condor has it, I think, on Twitch, calling it post-urban decay. I think that's quite good.
That's quite fun. That's actually quite good.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
That is the title of the show. Maybe this should be the bit. We come on 10 minutes early and find a name for the show. Like, have you ever watched As Yet Untitled? With, it's on Dave. It's got... Oh, who is the comedian who is the captain on QI? Alan Davis. Alan Davis As Yet Untitled. And it's just the comedians in a round table just chatting, and they have to come up with a name for the show at the end.
Yeah, I can't do my preview shows for college till I've got a title. First thing I have to do, otherwise it don't feel right. So I always have to sit down and do that first.
Right, we're going to start in just a sec. Darth Twerk, explain to me why you have a sense of deja vu. Is it because I'm shit at episode titles? Because I get that. That happens a lot.
Yeah. Don't have none of these problems on the college show. It's all done and dusted.
You call it a problem, I call it an opportunity.
Shows it goes. I've learned I have no idea about evaluating QB talent. So many things go into it. Yes, they do. That's why I watch stuff like the QB School and stuff like that. Guys who actually know what they're talking about and can tell me what I'm looking at.
I think the biggest thing is that, and I'm still convinced that Jay Cutler, on pure throwing ability and like all the intangibles that you'd kind of want. He was pretty mobile, he had grit, but when it came to it, there was just something missing head-wise. Like, he couldn't see the field like you would want an NFL quarterback to see the field. He had everything arm talent-wise that you'd like, but translating to the NFL, there's just something about having it between the ears that's just so more important than physical
So,
talent.
so this is why I love Bryce so much, and why I don't give a damn about his height. He has everything you want up there in his head
Mm.
for to be successful on an NFL Sunday. The way he goes through all his reads, the way he's constantly altering his protections, taking control of his line of scrimmage, leading it from the front, and the playmaking ability is insane. You know, a team where he's got no outside receivers, he's got very little in the way of help there. And I know it sounds strange saying that about Alabama's side, but it's true
And
this
Bama
year.
are just about to
They
get
ain't
worse.
great.
Two of their wide receivers have entered the portal as well. It's just,
Well, they're not that good. They're not that good, but the
no.
thing is, he has everything he needs mentally up in the head, and he's already ready. And some of the throws he makes are insane. I put that video in our Discord from the QB school. They did the review of his tape against LSU, which is probably his worst game in a Bama shirt. And obviously, they show you the bad in there, but even on his worst day, some of the plays he makes are insane, and he is going to be such a great quarterback at the next level. And it's just, oh, it's beautiful. It's
From what I've
beautiful.
seen of him as well, he's just humble. Like, he appears quite a humble guy, and that's just endearing to me.
He'll be fine, John. He doesn't need to be 3 inches taller. He can see the field very well. I have no problems with his height. He's never flustered ever. He takes hits, he takes sacks, he makes a bad throw. He forgets about it. He's gone. Not like Jared Goff, who keeps that going, um, and who keeps a mistake in his head and lets it affect the way he plays. He's just got that ability to blank his mind
Mm.
after a bad play or a sack or whatever. You know, he plays hurt, still makes the throws. I love him. I
Yeah,
really do.
I don't blame you. I really, really like him too. Right, we have the name for the show. I just need to load up my links a minute. Oh, I haven't actually checked whether the betting line has changed. People were actually saying, well, the Lions are favoured in this one, and then they weren't when I actually had a look at it. Oh, the Lions are. It is
They
shifted.
were 1.5. They were 1.5 at the start of the week.
What, the Jags were favourites or the
No,
Lions?
Lions. Lions were 1.5 when the lines opened.
So when the Lions opened in the UK, the Lions were 1.5 point dogs on Betfair, and now they are 1 point favourites, which is something. Over under still 51.5. Okay, cool.
Smash the
Injury
over.
report we've done. Depth chart. And then don't need PFF, don't need Football Outsiders. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Joseph said you really like him with the Lions' first pick. If the Lions, as I believe they will, pick number one overall, I think Ant is choosing Bryce Young.
Yeah, yeah. He's the only QB I'm taking with a top 10 pick. None of the others are worth a damn. Not for a top 10 pick. So, yeah, I would. Then I'll take my corner with the second pick. And then I'll see how the board falls.
Um, we're getting into it now. We can. One more question from that fan man, which is Bryce Young goes one, Lions pick two. Who do you pick? And then we're going to go into the episode.
I'd take Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. I'd take a D lineman.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Yep, I just don't. Stroud is going to make someone fairly happy, but he's going to make them fairly happy. And if you're picking a QB at two, he needs to make you more than fairly happy. I just don't think that Stroud has it.
Thing is, I like the D line picks for us. Either Anderson comes in and who the hell do you block? Or you get Carter in the interior, and then again, who the hell do you block? I prefer the edge option, but I would be incredibly happy with them both. So yeah, if Young ain't there, it's one of them two. There's no one else in consideration.
Joseph just said Witherspoon with the second pick. He's been listening
Yep,
to your college show.
yeah. Well, Witherspoon's been playing well on his own. He don't need me to trump his horn, but Witherspoon's had an incredibly good season. We need a man coverage cornerback. He's the best man coverage cornerback in the draft. And he comes from a school, which we know with Kirby, places emphasis on turnovers, getting the ball back. So I would 100% have him. That's the only knock on Porter. He's great in coverage, but the picks haven't been there. The turnovers haven't been there. But don't mean he ain't a great player, but
Yeah.
I like the guy who's got turnovers in his game as well as been a great coverage guy. So I just pick greedy me.
Why can't we have the world?
Exactly. Why can't we have them all?
Indeed. Right. Shall we crack on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 162, Post-Urban Decay as Ant dies on the show. It's the Jags at Lions preview show. My name is Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. I was going to ask how you are, but I think that cough says it all.
I'm just recovering from my illness now, so I'm a lot better than I was. I feel pretty much back to normal now, so yeah, I'm good. I've had the day off work. I've started brewing up my homemade mulled wine, which is a fun time of year, and a couple of days I will be able to start consuming it. I love mulled wine. I love this time of year. I homebrew, so
yes.
Got my homebrew, got it all ready, got my mixtures ready. I just need to give it a couple of days to for all the flavors to soak in and everything, and then we're good to go. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Definitely. We're going to go through some news. We're then going to get to the preview of the show, and then at the back end of the podcast, I'm hoping that we'll have Jags across the pond join us to talk about the Jags and their season so far. Let's get the preamble out of the way, though. Discord channel is ready to roll. Lots of people joining all the way through this week. Please go and join them too with us. It's a really fun place to chat Lions, friendly community, really good college segment and channel on there as well. So join us there. A link is in the chat of both YouTube and Twitch right now. College Football Podcast, and you spoke with Ryan yesterday. What did he talk about?
We talked about a hell of a lot yesterday, actually. So it's the end of the regular season. It's done and dusted now. So all the teams that have started firing their head coaches during the season are hiring. A lot of other teams have started firing their coaches. So there's been a load of changes there. Obviously, there's playoffs nearly just about decided now. And then we discussed rivalry week. A lot of big upsets, big games there, and then we took a look forward to championship week coming up. It's all the championship games this weekend, and then once they've done, all that's left is bowl season and the playoffs. But yeah, the playoffs really is serious football. It's all done and dusted. So yeah, there's a lot on there, but it's good fun. So go check it out.
On the home straight of the college football season, and then there'll be nothing more to do but grind the tape, and you, of course, can see all of that here on Roar of the Lions College Football Show. Please do like and sub that, and this show and the podcast, and rate and review and comment and all that good stuff you can do. You know that it helps us out. And don't forget to download the app at lionsnationunite.com. Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions YouTubers together. We're there. Lions on the Prowl, Micro Mike, Dose of Dion, all your favourites are there, so go and download the app. And we are a Twitch affiliate, as a couple of you guys have already done tonight. Please do go to Twitch, and if you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, you can use your free Twitch Prime subscription on us. It doesn't cost you a penny, does put a little bit in our pocket straight from Amazon, so really helps us out to meet the running costs of the show. We are going to crack on with the news. And to start off with, a couple of really good moments. Despite only playing for 5 defensive snaps, James Houston was nominated for NFL Rookie of the Week. He obviously had 2 sacks in those 5 defensive plays. Absolutely massive day for him against Buffalo. And it did, of course, result in him being signed from the practice squad to the main roster. So, fantastic result for the problem. He's found his way onto the main roster. A draft pick by the Lions last year, 6th rounder. Didn't make it to the main roster, didn't get claimed by anyone else, and really took charge of his opportunity, and he found himself on the main roster, which is fantastic. Aiden Hutchinson has been named as well NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month. NFL, not just NFC. Absolutely fantastic performance by him over the last few weeks. He's had some dominant displays and starting to show why potentially the Lions made the shrewd investment in him with the number 2 overall pick. Charles Harris has been put on IR in the corresponding move with James Houston, so that's edge defender for edge defender there. And Tim Boyle, the quarterback, former starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions last year, he's been signed off the practice squad to the Chicago Bears main roster. And any big takeaways from those bits of news? Ant isn't actually with me. So have a look at chat here. People saying maybe that's Charles Harris gone. Of course, he is under contract next year, as Joseph Austin rightly says. Yeah, I'm just so pleased for James Houston. So if you weren't a listener of the show this time last year, you won't know that actually Houston was championed by, and especially in the run-up to the NFL draft coming, big HBCU project. He was obviously a linebacker at, I want to say Miami. It might have been Florida. I can't remember. It was Florida. He was inside linebacker at Florida, moved to outside linebacker edge at Jackson State under Deion Sanders, and he had an absolute tear. Undersized, 6'2", but he made his presence felt. And, he didn't do it quite in camp, still a raw talent, but his upside is absolutely huge. And you saw that second sack on Allen was absolutely fantastic. And Ant and Ryan have been worth their weight in gold for the draft stuff, because they nailed James Mitchell, they nailed James Houston, they nailed Chase Lucas. Like, you can listen to the national media all you like about who's meant to go number 1 overall, but try and get any sense of anyone trying to get your day 3 picks right. It doesn't really happen that often, so I have to give props to my guys for absolutely smashing it out of the park. I'm going to move on to the Jags at Lions preview and maybe just circle back when Ant returns to see if he's got any comment on the news that we just went through there. So let's kick off with the Jags preview. The Jags enter this game 4-7, much like the Lions 4-7. They were expected, according to Pro Football Reference, with their play throughout the season, to have 5.8 wins. Now that's the biggest unlucky stretch or difference that I've seen so far in our opponents this year. So expected 5.8, actual 4, under 1.8 wins, which is just super unlucky. So the Jags have been playing better than their record. In this game, in the betting per Betfair today, just checked it, both teams are 11-10 on. That makes them about minus 105 each in American money, which is, I've not seen it this close in the betting in some time. Lions are favoured by 1 at home, over under 51.5 points. Looking at the injury report, it hasn't officially come out for Thursday yet, but the Jags only have 4 players on their report for Wednesday. ETN, Zay Jones, Andre Cisco, all limited with various injuries, and Roy Robertson Harris did not practice with illness. For the Lions, we have had an update from Jeremy Reisman to say who was and who wasn't at practice today. So Evan Brown and Julian Okwara not present on Thursday. People back on Thursday having missed Wednesday, Penei Sewell and Ifeatu Melifonwu, and no longer in a red non-contact jersey because they were in the concussion protocol, Jeff Okudah and Jonah Jackson. Other people who were limited on Wednesday, who I don't have an update on, Chase Lucas with a hamstring, Jeff Okudah with that concussion protocol we mentioned, Josh Pascal, he was limited on Wednesday, but meant to do a bit more today, and Frank Ragnow limited on Wednesday. Again, no saying whether he's full practice for today. Sorry, Ant, I missed that you'd actually gone there. I don't know if you.
No, I'm sorry. I had to quickly answer the call in nature.
No, that's all right. I was just going through the injury report, but just to circle back to the news about Houston being signed, being nominated for Rookie of the Week, Hutchinson getting Rookie of the Month, and Boyle being signed to Chicago's main roster. Any comments on any of those bits of news at all?
I'm glad with James Houston. I'm glad that he's finally got his opportunity on this team. When you pick a guy 6th round, especially when you're in the edge position, they need some work doing to them, so they're not going to make an impact instantaneously. But I was very high on him when we first drafted him. You could see the potential. His last year at Jackson State was just a complete monster, lived in the backfield, and you saw that in this game. I mean, one sack, he beat two guys on one play, gets to the quarterback, makes the sack. This is just how good he can be. He's got all the arsenal of pass rush moves that you want from him, and it's just a case of harnessing that into a guy who can do it on Sundays, and it's taken his time. But again, it shows Brad Holmes finds the players who have the right attitude for this team. So, he was a draft pick. We cut him, which I was sad about, but he's come back to the practice squad. He has worked his way back up to the team. He has been patient, bided his time, and he's taken his opportunity when he's only been given limited snaps. I think he only got 5 snaps, 2 sacks and a fumble recovery on special teams as well. That is a guy who was waited and has fought to take his chance, and they were 2 big sacks for us in that game. So I'm delighted, because I saw the guy out of college. I knew he could be good potentially, and everyone's got to have a little taste of just how good he will be. And obviously, of course, we were going to sign him after. Someone was going to snap him up, but there's an opportunity now with Julian injured again, with Austin on his last legs in this team. There is need for depth rotational guys on the edge at that outside linebacker spot as well, and you've got to be perfect for it. So hopefully the snap count starts to go up a little bit more. Now, obviously, don't expect 2 sacks every 5 snaps every week, but yeah, I'm very positive for his chances going forward. I think year 2 will be big for him when he's had his year. He gets a few more snaps towards the end of this season, another off season, honing the skills. I think he'll be a big player for us. So yeah, I'm very delighted for James Houston. Fudge as well, defensive rookie of the month. I think, what was it? Only 2 players have ever got that on the Lions before. It's been a long time since anybody got it, so he has been great. I mean, it doesn't necessarily show on the stat sheet per se. I think it was just the 1 sack, but the interceptions, that's a new part of his game. You can see the way he's evolving as a player. He's not just pass rushing all the time. He's dropping back into coverage when he feels it's necessary, because he knows he can get picks now. I don't think it was the second one. I don't think Daniel Jones was expecting it the other week for him to drop back the way he did. But it's how you affect the game. If you can't reach the passer, get in the throw-in lanes and disrupt his ability to pass the ball. And that's sort of a little added nuance to Aiden's game you see in there. So delighted he got the award. Obviously, a lot of Lions rookies on defense are getting individual awards. And while it's not been pretty this season, a lot of the time you can see the individuals getting better, which obviously is what we need for this team long term. So again, really, really happy with that. Very disappointed for Harris going on to IR. It's a shame. Had such a great year last year. It just ain't happened this year. The injury bug's been hitting, but hopefully we stick with him. He comes back next year and he's the player that we know he can be, because potentially we could have a lot of firepower there next season. So yeah, hopefully he comes back. As for Boyle, meh, Boyle is Boyle. I don't care for these backup quarterbacks like Boyle and Blau. Let them go elsewhere. We ain't losing much because of it.
Boyle and Blau both in division as backups now, which is fun. Actually pointed out by Cooldown Rat in the chat, thank you for nudging me on this one. Lions released wide receiver Josh Johnson from the practice squad and signed quarterback Jaron Williams. I did forget that piece of news, so apologies. Going back into that injury report, only 4 guys on Jacksonville's report entirely. Obviously, ETN is the big one, had a massive year. Zay Jones as well had a massive day last week. He was exceptional, and we'll come on to that game later on in the show. So those are 2 people to watch out for. But the other thing to watch out for is a couple of guys on the IR for Jacksonville who probably aren't going to be featuring in this game, and that's cornerback Shaq Griffin and defensive end Clavion Chason. Now, Chason, as a first-round pick, is massively underwhelmed, I know, but he's still a first-round edge defender that you need to account for. But in terms of the cornerback, Shaquille Griffin, he's the highest cap hit on the team by almost double second place, and he's out. Oh, well, on IR. I don't know about being out, but $16.4 million is his cap hit. The next nearest is Rayshon Jenkins on 9.9. Tells you how many people they've managed to get on that team, because no one's got any cap number whatsoever. The other thing to note, of course, they made the trade by the trade deadline. They have Calvin Ridley for a second round pick, I think it was, but of course he's suspended for the entirety of this year, so he won't be in this game. What do I have here? I didn't mean to do that. Whatever I did. Looking at the depth chart for Jacksonville, this is what we're expecting for the starters for them. Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Running back will either be Etienne or Hasty. They've also got Darrell Henderson from the Rams, who we know quite well. Wide receivers, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, and Jamal Agnew, two former Lions there. Tight end Evan Ingram. Also have Chris Manhertz and Dan Arnold. The front five are Cam Robinson, Tyler Shatley, Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, and Jawan Taylor. Also have Walker Little backing them up there. In defense, they have Foloronzo Fatakazi, Davon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris as their front three. Their next four, Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd, Foyesade Olakun, and Trayvon Walker. And then the DBs, Tyson Campbell, Rayshon Jenkins, Andre Sisco, and Montarek Brown. Obviously backed up by quite a few people on this roster. So you've got Chad Muma, who was a reasonably high draft pick, Andrew Wingard, who's actually been the starter for quite a lot of this year, amongst others. It's a fairly feisty team, and Riley Patterson, Logan Cook, I should say, the special teams as well. It's a Jags side that had a lot of investment in it in the off-season, and as I was highlighting when you were away, it's one of the unluckiest teams in the league. Now, they obviously came away with a victory against Baltimore in a game they might have lost, but at 4-7, they're 1.8 games under expectation. They should have won, according to Pro Football Reference, 5.8 games this year. So it's a team which has improved on last year, and I mean, how could you get any worse? They look feisty. They've got a better coach at the helm who's actually driving things forward. Lawrence looks better. The arrows, I know they've overpaid for people, but the arrow is decidedly up for Jacksonville.
They're us, really, in terms of they're a team that's younger, that's building. They've had a lot of high draft picks invested in this team recently, and they're trying to find ways to win games as well. You say they're 1.8 games behind. Well, I'd argue the Lions are probably some games behind as well. I know it might not show us that, but when you're young, when a lot of your core team is young, you've got to learn how to win games. And sometimes you lose ones that you shouldn't. But that's all part of being a young team, which is learning. So, I mean, they've had the one advantage where they've had sort of the big off-season payments in free agency and that. They've had one of those, but for the most part, a lot of young guys in this team. Especially, the quarterback is the main one. Only in his second year, Tilo looks like he's getting it figured out now. I mean, that was a cracking game-winning drive the other week against the Ravens, who frauds. Nearly as big a fraud as the Titans, I reckon, this year they are. But you've got to, you've got to win those close games, and they showed that they were able to, and the Lions have shown that they're able to as well. So it's going to be kind of an interesting barometer as to where we're at. They'll be looking at us exactly the same way we're looking at them. In that this is a game that is eminently winnable if you turn up and play your best ball. If we get our best ball, if we come and play, we can beat them. Likewise, they come and they play at their full potential, they could kick our ass as well. So I like this Jacksonville team. I do. I like the quarterback. I like the way they're building things. The offensive line has been pretty good this year. They don't sack Trevor very often. Obviously, Brandon Scherf was a major investment for them. Cam's been better than usual this year. Jawan's been decent. So, yeah, I like it. I think they're doing exactly what we're doing, which is building in the right direction. You can see they're building the right way as well. The defense, they've really gone after that defensive line. They've really invested in linebackers. They've sort of gone for those first two lines of the defense, invested heavily. The secondary is weak. That is a place where you can get at them. I mean, say their best guy is out injured, and outside of that, I'm not really fond of many of the guys they've got back there, but you can't build a team in one off season. You keep the core defense together like they've got there now. You add a few good DBs in next season, then it can potentially become a very good defense very quickly. So they have to be respected. They have the run game capabilities. They've got the quarterback who can make all the throws, who's getting confident. And the defense, if you get behind the sticks, it can hurt you. So yeah, I'm interested to see specifically where the Lions come back in terms of their mentality after the close loss. I mean, we had some of our worst games of the season when we threw the Vikings one away. It just took their belief and confidence. They can't allow that to happen again. Otherwise, these teams that are coming up are going to lay a pounding down on us. We've got to be on our best against Jacksonville to win here, but I'm confident we can.
Yeah, me too. I absolutely back everything that you say. I mean, Lawrence seems to have developed a chemistry with his receivers pretty quickly, so even if they have overpaid for Kirk and Zay Jones, they're getting the business done, and that's the most important thing. And in Josh Allen, they have one of the premier defensive end talents, and I just like the way they've gone about their roster building. It's exciting, and
The thing is, they've not got any flashy names. You ask about their wide receiver group, and you're not saying, oh, there's a wide receiver one there. Oh, there's an absolute star. But what they have is a little bit of everything. They've got the outright speed with Christian Kirk. You've got the nous in the middle of the field with Zay Jones. You've got a decent receiving tight end in there as well. They've got a little bit of everything. So their playbook is wide open. They can do stuff down the field, in the middle of the field, short, intermediate. We kind of lack a real deep threat at the minute. We're waiting for JMO to come back. So our playbook, we can't open the entire thing up. They can. And as I say, it ain't flashy names, but it are names who can hurt you. And they work together well as a unit. And they've got a quarterback who can maximize their potential. So, yeah, it ain't flashy, but it works. And it has to be respected.
Right, let's crack on with the offensive view for the Jags. PFF say, in fact, overall will start 71.9 overall. That's 24th in the NFL offense. 69.2 is 21st, and 62.5 on defense is 23rd. Football Outsiders, minus 2.9% overall is 18th in the NFL. 4.5% on offense is 14th. And 8.7% on defense is 26th. Their special teams ranked 1.3%, which is 11th. So, bit of variance between the two national metrics. They both see the offense as slightly stronger than the defense, but both around middle of the park, and the special teams is slightly better than average. They are, of course, led, as we've said, by the quarterback Trevor Lawrence, number one overall pick in 2021 out of Clemson. 256 out of 385 on the year. That's 66.5% completion rate, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, passer rating of 93.6 and a quarterback rating of 54.1, a PFF grade of 69.9. In the receiving game, they've got 4 of note. Christian Kirk is the leader in that room. 56 of 91 for 725 and 7 touchdowns, PFF grade of 72.9, which is second on offense. Zay Jones, on the other hand, not very far behind. 58 of 79, 562 and a touchdown, PFF grade of 72. That's third on offense. So the big acquisitions from Arizona and Las Vegas, respectively, doing quite well there. They also have 2 former Lions in that receiver core. Marvin Jones, 31 of 53 for 368 and 2 touchdowns. Got the game, he got the touchdown allowing them to go 4-2 to win the game against Baltimore in their most recent game. PFF grade for him of 62.3, which is one of his lowest for his career. So not great. He's having a slow season by his standards, but he's still Marvin Jones. The other receiver is still a bit more of a special teamer, but he has been quite productive in terms of touchdowns per catch. Jamal Agnew, 15 of 20, 119 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his 15 catches. Also 5 carries for 29 yards and a PFF grade of 70.8. That's 4th overall on offense despite the lack of snaps that he's had. Proper gadget player, much like we had at the Lions, but when he comes on and takes a jet sweep or they run a counter with him, it can be quite effective. In the running game, 2 very good running backs to speak about. First is Travis Etienne. Now, will he play is the big question. If he does, it's going to be a problem for the Lions. 133 carries, 728 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's 5.5 yards per attempt. And 22 of 31 for 202 in the receiving game. PFF grade of 78.5. That is number 1 on the offense this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he would be a big miss if he is not playing. The other running back is a trade that they got in season, JaMycal Hasty from San Francisco. 28 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown, which is very, very good from him against with a poor offensive line, really. He's done the business. He looks shifty. In relief for ETN in the Ravens game, he was a problem. Despite not making many yards, he actually avoided losing yards quite often. Also got 12 of 15 for 90 and a touchdown in the receiving game. PFF grade of 66.7. In terms of where they might have trouble, they have low scores in these positions. Centre Luke Faulkner 53.5, tight ends Evan Ingram 56.9 and Chris Manhertz 56. Guard Brandon Sheriff 58.3 and tackle Jawan Taylor 58. They are 12th on 3rd down conversions on offense, 12th on 4th down conversions on offense, and 18th in the red zone. So, in short, good at receiver, good at running back, good at quarterback, bad offensive line and tight end room, but there's a lot more to it than that. What have you made of this Jags offense so far?
This is why I have no respect for PFF. It's not a bad offensive line. Numbers say it is, but eye test it isn't. I mean, they've given up 1 more sack than we have this year. They've given up less quarterback hits than we have this year. They've given up a lot less pressures than we've given up this year. I think we're at 114. They're at 88. They're not bad in the pass blocking game. It's hard to get to Trevor Lawrence in the running game. I know they're great at poorly, but we're all talking about what a great season Travis Etienne's having. James Robinson has flourished to the point they got a really good pick for a running back from him there. And, it's a good line and it needs respect. So, again, this is why I have little respect for what PFF do. It's not true. I've gone back and looked through some of these games and the eye test doesn't show what they show, that it's poor. It's a good unit. Brandon Scherf's one of the best guards in the NFL, period. The tackles are decent. The centers are maybe a bit of a weak spot. I'm never big on Faulkner. I think he was out of Kentucky. Is he second year? Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the old Kentucky guy. But yeah, I think the offense is pretty well rounded here. It's got a really good running back. It's got a really good quarterback. It's got a good wide receiver core, which don't have flashy names, but lots of guys who do enough to make it work. And it has an offensive line that works in both facets of the game. They aren't eye-blowing numbers. It's not one of the greatest units going, but it does what it needs to do. It's hard to get pressures on Lawrence, and it's hard to stop them running the ball. So we have got to bring our A game to this one. You saw the Ravens couldn't deal with it, and the Ravens have a pretty good defense all told. They've invested very heavily in that unit, and they struggled to deal with what this offense brings to the table. They gave up the game-winning drive to them, so I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. It's a case of even if you stop Etienne, Trevor Lawrence can still make the throws. He can still get them out of ugly spots. He's got the guys to stretch the field and do that. So, it's not just about stopping the run here. It's about being very disciplined in coverage, not giving Lawrence any outs. It's about trying to stop the run game. And you've got to account for Lawrence as well. He very rarely runs the football. He doesn't need to, but he can. And that's probably when a QB is at his most dangerous, when he can do most of his work with his arm and he doesn't have to run very, very much because teams forget about it. they forget he has the ability to crack out a 30, 40-yard run, which he can quite easily do. He's just very good at not having to do it. He usually finds ways out of it. Doesn't just go scrambling for the sake of it. So, I know they're a mid-team, but I have a lot more respect for this offense than I do a lot of others that we've played so far. It's dangerous to us.
So this is why this is always fun. Is I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I think that the offensive line has good pieces, but together as a unit has played bad. Like, flat out, I think that they've been poor. And I think, so there's a comment in the chat saying, well, there's chat about, Lawrence being this dual threat quarterback with the ability to run, but that's the reason why he's getting sacked. And I respectfully disagree. And if you watch the most recent game at Baltimore, I think you'll see why. Now, Baltimore have a good pass rush, but not a great pass rush. I don't think it's the hardest defensive battle they'll face this year. And there's lots of blitzes, there's lots of stunts from that team, but there's not a huge amount of talent on that defensive line. And Lawrence got sacked on the very first play of the game. He was under pressure consistently with offensive whiffs on the offensive line from Jawan Taylor. And I really like Sheriff. I think he's one of the best guards in the NFL. But that doesn't preclude him for me saying that I think that they've had a poor year. He's had a poor year. I don't think he's played up to his usual standards. Now, I'd still put him in my top 5 guards in the NFL because I think his pedigree will shine through and class is permanent and form is temporary. But his form for me has been poor, and I think Luke Fortner is a liability. I think he's been poor this year. I think he's been a conveyor belt at centre. And I really think, and we'll get on to matchups later, that Aleem McNeil might be licking his lips looking at this. But we shall see. I think the left-hand side of that line is better than its right, at least this year. But we shall see. Let's move on to the defence. And tackle leader so far, and what a free agency acquisition as well, linebacker Foyesade Olakun. A pass defended, 2 fumble recoveries, a sack, 113 tackles, 81 solo, 9 tackles for a loss, 6 quarterback hits, PFF grade of 57.6. Outside linebacker Devin Lloyd. Inside linebacker? Outside linebacker? I've just said outside linebacker. He does play a bit of both, doesn't he? 2 interceptions.
He's inside.
Yeah. 2 interceptions, 7 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries, 74 tackles, 38 solo, 2 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 52.9. He was the darling of the early season, but has seen his snaps limited in recent weeks, and he was actually benched in a game recently. Edge outside linebacker Josh Allen is the real star of this defense. Pass defended, 2 forced fumbles, 3 sacks, 35 tackles, 19 solo, 6 tackles for a loss, 13 quarterback hits, and a number 1 PFF grade on that defense of 78.6. They've also got the number 1 overall pick over there too, by the way. Trayvon Walker, an interception, 2 passes defended, 2.5 sacks, 37 tackles, 18 solo, 3 tackles for a loss, 6 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 58.2. In the DB room, their outstanding talent is a player that we all liked coming out of the draft last year. Not last year, the year before last. Andre Cisco. 3 interceptions, 9 passes defended, 59 tackles, 43 solo, and a PFF grade of 71.7. Looking at poor scores per PFF, you're looking at Rayshon Jenkins with a 50 score, the safety. Cornerback Darius Williams, 51.6, and Roy Robertson Harris, the defensive lineman, 52.7. In terms of conversion rates, on 3rd down, they're 25th. 4th down, they're 6th. And in the red zone, they are 56.8%. This defense is boom or bust, I think I would put it. Sometimes it all comes together and they look absolutely fantastic, and sometimes it kind of all falls apart a bit and you never really know which one you're going to get from Jacksonville.
Because it's a young unit, really, in the grand scheme of things, you have a lot of draft picks in there, like us, who show flashes, who show potential, but they also show the raw nature of the game as well. I mean, they've got the building blocks there. Trayvon Walker is a future building block, athletically gifted, still figuring his way in the league. Not really, they say Josh Allen's there, but I'm not really classing him as an edge player, but no real sort of guy to help him there, the vet guy to help him on the edge, but he'll get to where he wants to. Devin Lloyd, I love Devin. He was my draft crush. I still wanted us to draft him. I'm still gutted that we didn't draft him. He's proven to be everything I hoped that he'd be. He affects all facets of the game. He rushes the passer. He's good with his run blocking. He's good in coverage. You know, the Jags got some good ones there. They got Chad Moomer in, who's not really done much, but, you know, still working his way into the team. And they got guys I liked in free agency as well. They bought Olakun in. I really wanted him here. They got him. They paid him a handsome amount of money to go there, but he's a really good player. So this defense can hurt you a lot. They've invested a lot in the middle of the field. They've invested in the defensive line, and you've got to bring your A game here, especially those guys on the offensive line, because it's not about just blocking your one-on-ones in this. They've got a lot of guys in that linebacker room who can hurt you, who will come blitzing, who will come looking to join the fun. So again, it's you know what you have to do with it. You've got to run the ball hard. That's one of the things maybe they're not too great at on the defensive line itself is stopping the run. So you've got to run the ball, put yourself in favorable situations, and then target that secondary. The secondary is the glaring weakness on this team. It's a shame JMO ain't healthy because he would eat on a day like this. But
Wow.
we've got guys.
Wow. I
Well,
mean, you know,
we may,
maybe, could
There's
be
an outside chance,
30%. I
There's
put
an
it at
outside
30%. It could happen.
but I would fancy Raymond to do well here. I think Raymond's started finally coming to the show a little bit, and I would fancy him against some of these DBs. But yeah, the Jags defense is like us. A lot of talented young players who are developing. So, you know, like you said, they could boom against you one week and they could bust the next. So you just don't really know what you're going to get with it. But what I do know is the players they do have, they can hurt you in the pass rushing game and they can hurt you quickly. So you've got to bring your A game. You've got to block well. You've got to be prepared for a fight because Doug Pederson will. His teams fight hard. You know what he's like. You know that old Philly style that he has. He's a Dan Campbell type guy. Every single player on that team is going to get back up after you knock them down, as it would, and keep coming back at you. So it's going to be a real slugfest between our offense and their defense, and we've got to be ready for a fight. But we can win. Like I say, get yourself in the positions to target that secondary, take their good players out the game.
It's going to be an interesting one. I think Cisco is the only DB worth his salt, to be honest. You know, obviously they have they have Griffin on IR that I mentioned, but besides that, it's just Cisco, and we know that he's a ball hawk. You know, he's a very aggressive, very attacking player, and you can take advantage of that. You just need to pick your moments. Their strength for me is the pass rush, and it comes and it goes. Like, the Lions O-line has it within them to stymie this pass rush. Do they do it? Is a massive question that we'll get onto later, but assuming Goff has time, I think this should be there for the taking. Now, does Trayvon Walker set a light? What, you know, number 1 versus number 2 overall pick is a storyline here. Josh Allen, does he set the world alight? Because we've seen that he can do that. Does Devin Lloyd bounce back? He's had a couple of iffy games, but he started out hot and he's clearly got it in him. I know that you were a massive fan of his coming out in this most recent draft. I think it's a well-drilled defense. Let me move this on to my Ravens-Jags observations before we look at key matchups, because I think it feeds quite well into this defense. So, Jags held the Ravens situationally in a sort of bend, don't break philosophy that we know quite well as Lions fans. The first 4 times the Baltimore put points on the field, it was through field goals. They were up 12-0, having driven most of the field to make those field goals. So the Jags forced Baltimore, when it mattered most, to take kicks, not touchdowns, which I think is really important. Despite the fact that they were outgained massively, Yards, time of possession, I haven't checked time of possession, but they must have been outdone by time of possession because Baltimore had the ball so much. Outdone by all of that, by plays run and all of that stuff. When it mattered most, on third down, near the red zone, they stood up. And situationally, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup for us. Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones's chemistry is legit. It was his favourite receiver. He was doing all the work. I thought that was the worst purchase they'd made in the offseason, but Jones has really stood up, and their chemistry is excellent. Lawrence is slinging it. He's actually worse for me, at least in this most recent game. In the shorter throws, he seems to make the longer throws with a bit more consistency, but his short passing accuracy leaves a bit to be desired. There are several throws to Zay Jones or Marvin Jones or Christian Kirk that they just lack the timing, slightly behind the receiver. It was frustrating to watch at times, but then when you looked at him throwing 20 yards plus, he zipped it. He throws with such power, it's unbelievable. So you have to watch it. It's a beautiful thing. They're in 11 personnel 80% of the time, just shy of 80% of the time on Sunday last week. So you can expect to see 3 wide receivers out there most of the time. Offensive line struggled to keep Lawrence upright. He was under pressure and running all over the place trying to maintain the play. Defense did a great job against Lamar in their run game generally, but they struggled against tight ends. Not exactly a strength of ours at the minute. They spent a lot of time with 4 down backers against Baltimore. Even they played with the 3-4 base. They played a lot in 4-3, but they played either in 4-3 or in dime, and they basically didn't play in nickel at all. So if you don't know what those mean, dime means that you have an extra DB on the field, most often a safety, whereas in nickel you're mostly playing with an extra slot cornerback. And they played with 1.5 cornerbacks on the field per snap. Nickel you have 3, and in dime you have 3 safeties normally. And they were playing with 3 safeties half the time. So there's a heck of a lot to play with 3 safeties. I think a lot of that is because Shaquille Griffin is out. But there we go. It's an interesting little facet to their defense. It does mean that they play with lighter boxes, which means that if your running game can get going, you can put them in all sorts of trouble. They seem to play a heck of a lot of zone defense, but I do think that's matchup specific because they were playing Lamar Jackson. They wanted eyes on the quarterback at all times. It's the mistake that we have made all through this year facing dual threat quarterbacks. And last observation really from that game was that it's all former Lions getting them over the line. Marvin Jones got a touchdown, Jamal Agnew got a touchdown, and it's Patterson getting all of the field goals and extra points. We basically won them the game last week, and
I guess you could put it that way.
Did you watch the game? I mean, they went for 2 right at the end of it to
I
win
was
it.
watching it.
Fantastic game.
I love watching games where the Ravens lose. So of course I was watching it. I was most impressed by Lawrence. I think the game-winning drive just shows his maturity is coming to his game. When the chips are down, he can be relied on to throw the balls that he needs to get his team over the line. And I quite enjoyed watching them. I mean, I don't know what to think of the way they line up or the defensive schemes or anything, because the Ravens are a very, very specific team in this in the league. I mean, I feel like they're almost unique in the way that they play. So you've got to have a very unique game plan to be able to combat them with all the dual threats they've got, with Lamar being able to bomb it when he wants to, and you've got to put so much attention to him. I'm maybe not surprised they were a little bit more conservative the way they playing extra DBs and that. You know, they can help you if he passes on you. They can help if he decides he's going to run the ball and doesn't burn you for too much. So, but no, the Jags look good. I think, they were in a hole and they came back and they did what they needed to. And, the Ravens are a good team. So, it's a huge, huge win really for them. So you can't underestimate what it does to a team. Like I say, when we started winning games, we just look so much more dangerous when we're a confident side. who's winning games, and obviously they're going to be similar. They're going to be coming off the back of this. They'll be full of confidence, and it's going to make them a much more dangerous team. And it remains to be seen where we're at mentally after the defeat. Obviously, we've had a little bit more time to rest up, but no, I think this is going to be a very fun and entertaining game between our two teams. I'm smashing that over on, what is it, 51 points, did you say?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be loads more points than that. I think our offense is going to come to play. I think theirs is as well. I think it could be a case of just who can convert most often will win this one. But yeah, it's they've got to be respected. They're a good side. I know we all said at the start of the season we sort of earmarked this one down as one that we've got to win, etc. But it's not eminently winnable like we thought it might be. It's going to take a lot to go right, and it's going to take a heck of a performance to get the win. But I'm looking forward to the game overall. They're not a 4-7 team for me. Like we're not. We're both better than this. We're just trying to figure things out with all the young players, but we're better than the record suggests. Both of us.
I completely agree. And let's get up to the matchup specifically. Let's start with the Jags O-line. You said that you think it's better than those stats have shown, that you like generally what is there. The Lions' defensive line, the pass rush specifically, can it do the business in this game? Can we disrupt Lawrence? Because with the way that he's playing, I think that we have to have a shot in this game.
Obviously you've got to put pressure on there, but the great thing that Lawrence has been doing recently is his ball security. He ain't been throwing the picks that he has before. Now he's thrown quite a few, but he's not thrown one for like 3 or 4 weeks now. I think it's a facet of his game which is getting better. The throws he makes are less risky. He's putting them in positions only his guy can get them. He's very, very calm, and he's seeing the ball well at the minute. So, yeah, of course, you've got to get pressure on him if you want to win this game. You've got to unsettle him again. You've got to start making him doubt himself again. Because right now, at this minute in time, he seems to have more confidence than he ever has while he's been in the NFL. And obviously, that comes hand in hand with his team playing better. They ain't fighting for the number 1 overall pick this year. They're winning games. They're looking better. And he is by proxy. So, of course, matchup wise here, I back our D line against a lot better offensive lines than this. I ain't saying they're the creme de la creme or the standard. I'm saying they're better than what PFF say they are, but still one-on-one matchups, I would expect, Aiden Hutchinson to eat against Jawan Taylor. I would expect him to give Cam Robinson a very hard day, because he's given much better left tackles very hard days so far. So interior-wise, I think is a place to exploit. I mean, I'd put Aleem between the center and the right guard. I wouldn't face him up against Scherf, maybe put someone else in there. But the opportunities are there to be had. But I think it's a given for this team now. I know we say the matchups where we're in that, but kind of we're built so that the defensive line wins games for us. So it needs to have a good game for us to win. If we play lights out and get pressure in this game on the defensive line, we'll win. So I think it's kind of a given at this point. But I fancy our chances. I do. I think there will be opportunities there for sure. Plus, we're getting healthier again. We're getting guys back. So that always helps, having the deeper rotational options as well, meaning you can switch it all up and do different looks, So, yeah, it's going to be big. But I fancy our D-line to do well against their O-line.
And moving on to the next matchup, we have the Jags run game, slightly associated with what we've been talking about, but whether it's Hasty or ETN, they're both shifty backs. ETN obviously can run with a bit more power than Hasty can. Hasty a bit more of a explosive back who's going to try and avoid contact as much as possible. But Hasty, despite the fact he didn't get many yards, gave Baltimore some problems. And if ETN does go, you're going to face a battle. The Lions obviously do have Kaminsky, and it looks like the club might come off this week. It might not, but he's been playing quite well with it regardless. We have Pascal training. Hopefully he can go. Do you think that's enough to say that this defensive line can stop the run as well?
I mean, it depends because, like you say, they're very schematically different. Hasty is obviously from the San Francisco system where there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of running outside the tackles, trying to get him on the edge, utilize his speed in there. And Etienne is a power back. He will go straight through the tackles, through the guards, and he will try and hit you that way. And you saw against the Ravens, they sort of had a nice little repertoire, a repertoire going with them. So, but you don't forget, Etienne has come off a bad injury, and they rushed him a lot against Baltimore. Oh, was it Baltimore? Or was it the one before that?
One before that. Yeah.
I feel like they've put a lot of load on him, given how much he's gone through. So I think it's a thing. If you can keep him quiet early, if you can sort of use the carries up and then force them to move to Hasty, I think that gives you a much better chance in this one. But we stopped Barkley, who is much better than either of those two. So, I would fancy us to be able to do so. I think in the trenches we've become a lot stronger recently. We're starting to see the investment pay off. We're getting a lot of our guys back, which means we can start running the looks that we want to. We've got the interior guys, so we can hold that. We've got the edge guys coming in who can seal up better. So, yeah, as I say, it's for me as a case again. I think that we can. I think we can sort of get this run game under wraps. Because like I said, I don't think Travis can take the biggest load in the world. He can't be a bell cow back. So if you can keep him quiet, minimize his gains, use up his carries, force them to Hasty, then I think, job done in that respect.
And then let's move on to the other side of the ball in the trenches and this Lions offensive line. Now, it keeps getting put by PFF or whoever in that top 5 offensive lines in the NFL. And in terms of pedigree, in terms of how good they are when everyone's healthy and playing well, sure, I see it. But this year, I just don't think, especially pass blocking wise, they've been as good as that. Now, against this Jags pass rush, you've got obviously the number 1 overall pick. You've got Josh Allen as well. You've got a few other guys in there who can do a bit. Do you think the RO line can not say match up with this, because clearly they can? Do you think that it will be a mismatch, or do you think the Jags will find some success here?
The potential is there. Obviously, our guard situation hasn't been great. Jonah's back, and that helps no end, having Jonah back, because then you know that one side of your line is shored up. And Decker, for all the criticism I've given him, has looked better in recent weeks. He's been playing better, which is good. So it all depends what happens with the right guard spot in terms of the pass pro. But I mean, I don't know why we're persisting with Skipper. I think his little gold dust period has gone. I think we're flogging a dead horse there now. I think Logan should be back for this, especially if we're going to run the ball more. I put my young guy in and see what I've got, because end of the season's coming up now. There's still 5-6 games left, but you need to get as much talent evaluation done as you can, whether you've got these guys long term, because guard is going to be a position of need in the draft right now. Right now, it is a position of need in the draft. We'll need a right guard next year, because I'm not sure about Vitai's long-term health. So we need to start putting the young guys in there, see if we've got it. So I will put Logan in, run the ball well. But having Jonah back's huge, because then it means we can just assign extra protection to that right-hand side where the guard's letting us down a bit. So, of course, they can get at us. Trayvon's not played well so far. Josh Allen is Josh Allen. I fear that second line of their defense more than I do their defensive line, even though I've been very nice about their defensive line. I think individually, one-on-one, we can kill them, but it's what happens with the second line, because with Allen, with Devin, with Olakun, there's so much they can do. So if they are going to have success against us, I think it's because they're going to overwhelm us in the matchups, not win the one-on-ones. But again, I just have this feeling that I think we can do better. I think we are a better team, minus the quarterback situation. So I see no reason why we can't impose our will on them.
And so we talked about T-Law in terms of whether the rush can get to him against that offensive line, but talking about that receiving game, I'm going to lead the talk on this one and say that I think that the Jags potentially have the matchup advantage in the passing game versus our DBs. Now, I don't think we need to worry too much about teams that have an abundance of speed. I think we deal with untechnical speedy guys fine. I don't think we have to worry too much about quite physical people that are limited in speed but are big-bodied guys. I think we also deal with that okay. The thing that I think we struggle against is receivers with a modicum of speed who are extremely technical receivers, and in Kirk, Jones, and Agnew, I think it's a wide receiver core that might look unremarkable or even underwhelming to some. But you look at what Kirk's managed to do this year. Oh, you're paying too much for him. He's a wide receiver 2 at best, but he's been very productive. You look at Zay Jones, and he's been absolutely fantastic at the underneath work. If you think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is the next coming, Zay Jones is doing a bloody good impression of him this year. Like that sort of underneath work, he's been absolutely outstanding. And we know what Marvin Jones and Jamal Agnew can do. They bring a nice change of pace. If you need someone to go up and get a ball late in a clutch moment, Marvin Jones is going to be a guy. And can our DBs live in this world? Like, it seems underwhelming. It seems absolutely mad that I'm suggesting this, but I think this is a real strong point for Jacksonville.
Oh no, I agree. Like I said, it's not a name. It's not a call with lots of flashy names where they're household and you think, oh God, they're going to burn me. But like I said, they're a team that can do everything against you. And as a DB, you've got to be prepared for it. You don't know whether they're going to try and hit you with the deep ball. You don't know whether they're trying to hit you across the field. You've got to be very, very disciplined in the way that you play. And I mean, just look at when Lawrence has his bad days, traditionally it is the secondary that affects that. I mean, I think the last time he had a bad game was against Denver. He threw 2 picks against them. The last time he threw any picks at all. But you think of that Denver defense, you've got Justin Simmons in there, you've got Patrick Surtain in there, you've got genuinely great guys in the secondary who can affect how he plays, who can keep them bottled up, and they got the picks they needed that day. We don't have those star marquee names at the minute. We have a lot of young guys who are playing well, but have a ways to go so far. So it is going to be down to them a lot. I mean, the Denver pass rush did nothing against them that day, really. I think they sacked him once. It was the secondary that won it them, and that's where the chink in the armor seems to be with Lawrence. Is he gets picked off a lot because of secondary play, not because of pass rush. So yeah, I don't know whether we can. I think they're going to put points up on us. I do, just because of the quarterback. I don't think it's necessarily going to be our defense playing bad. I just really like the QB, and I think that he's in form at the minute. So when that happens, you're going to concede points, but it's going to be a tough day for the DBs. They say it's almost easier when you're against a wide receiver one because you can game plan for him and you can sort of, it all falls into place. Now it's like, who the hell do I watch? And you've got to be very, very sort of very picky on the matchups that you make. Who's on, Christian Kirk, the deep threat? Who's on the route technicians? Who's on Marvin Jones, who's a very canny veteran who will have eaten guys like this his entire career. So you've got to get the matchups right on the DB front. I think you've got to be very aggressive with them at the line of scrimmage, get them off their marks, stop them being able to exploit the field as they can. Jeff's been very good at that this year, just getting in guys' faces and stopping them play. I feel like that's what you've got to be with these guys. You can't let them get good releases and start going all over the field at you. Then you'll struggle.
Yeah, and just some late insider knowledge from Jeff Risdon of Lions Wire and the Detroit Lions podcast. He has the inside track and believes that Jameson Williams will be playing this Sunday, and that really might change things. Now, he's going to be raw and he's probably going to be severely snap limited, but God, I want that to happen. I can't wait to see that guy in Honolulu blue for real. For real. Not just in a training jersey.
I mean, just for what it does for your offense. I mean, when you can't bring your safeties up, to stack the run, what sort of a difference does that make for a run first team? A lot of teams do it against us. They bring the safeties up and stack the box because they know they can get away with it because we don't have that home run speed threat in behind them. Doesn't matter whether Jameson's only on the field for 10 snaps or whatnot and doesn't even see a single target. For 10 snaps, you're going to have a defense that's going to have to sit off because his speed can kill them over the top. If you don't assign resources to him, you don't have a cover safety against him, he will burn you. So even just having him back in the team, you don't need to give him any targets. Just let him run a few routes, let him just do minimal stuff. That's what it does for your defense. That's what even a half-speed Tyreek Hill does for you. You've got to account for him and what he can bring to the field. That's why I love the Jameson pick so much because we've not had straight line speed like this forever. I mean, we had Marvin Hull, but he was useless, and people knew he was useless. It's all right having speed, but if you're useless and can't catch the ball, then you don't respect that. You've got to respect Jameson Williams because he's got end product at the end of those, boosters that he's got on his feet. So that will be massive for us, especially with that Jacksonville secondary that ain't that good. Because then, like I say, it just completely alters the mindset. You got to drop the linebackers back a few feet because that's what we did last year, protecting our weak ass secondary, which was full of UDFAs and young kids and not really many good. You had to keep the linebackers back a bit as support, help them if they need it. So that's going to be the same with Jacksonville. I think you're going to find that Devin and that they're just going to have to, even if it's just a couple of yards, it gives your run game room to breathe. And that for us is absolutely critical, allowing our run game the best opportunity to succeed, because that's our strength.
I just need to pop away for 60 seconds. And can you just give your score prediction and just give some more chat for the chat while I pop off?
I'm sure they can deal with me for 60 seconds.
Okay, I'll see you in a sec.
So, score prediction for this. I try and give the same score prediction that I give when I'm on LNU and all those, because I don't want to be one of those guys who bets a 5-point win one day and then bets a 15-point the next. I think on LNU I had the Lions winning by about 3 points, and I've not seen anything that's telling me otherwise. I think Lions win 27-24. Just yes, John Ball. Oh no, 60 seconds, but you can live. It's just me for 60 seconds. You're all right. 27-24 to the Lions. I know I said it was going to be high scoring and we might go over the over. That hits the over technically. But I don't know. I think home advantage will do a lot for us. They are in a situation where they ain't going for the playoffs. We ain't going for the playoffs. They're going to be in an environment where it's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. They're probably going to have to play silent count. It's not going to. They're not going to have it all their own way. And I just fancy that gives us a little bit of an advantage at home. So 3-point win for me. I don't know. What does everyone in the chat think? Put your score predictions in and let's see if you're thinking like me. I mean, this would be a huge win. I think that Jacksonville are a decent side. They're coming off a good win. If we win this, it's a really good win. Shows we can bounce back from defeat like we didn't do against the Vikings. It's that mentality is going to be key. I hope the Lions have not lost their confidence because of that Bills game. They should have won it. They really should have won it. But the fact is they competed against a very good team for so long. So put the disappointment behind you, come back, beat a lesser team than them and show that it was just a one-off. I think the home advantage just gets us there. John Ball says Lions 34-27, victors. Grandizer, Lions 31, Jacksonville 29, Giovanni Leons 28-31. Could go either way. Yeah, if we were to lose by 3 points, I would not be surprised. As long as we are competitive in this one, we show that offensively, we're not going to go back into our shell. We're still going to play well. I would be happy. Obviously, I'm not going to be happy if we lose, but if it's a competitive loss, then I could take that because technically Jacksonville have their quarterback and they spent a load of money in free agency next year, so they're technically further along the timeline than we are. So I could stomach a loss. Just Bobo Lango's 31-18 Lions. They're going to be pumped after Thanksgiving. I hope so. I really hope so. I'm not on Twitch at the minute because Matt's doing all the Twitch stuff. So let me dive into Twitch, see if anyone's got theirs on there.
Flyod
Where
Condor
are we?
says 34-17 Lions. Cooldown Rat says 31-21 Lions. What did you say, Ant?
I said 27-24 to the Lions. I think we can just win. I think home advantage gives us a very narrow win. So I don't. It's not going to be a blowout either way, though. I think it's going to be like 3 points either way. Either they get a narrow one on us, or we get a narrow one on them. But I fancy home advantage to just get us over the line.
So for myself, for all I've said about can the Jags get success here, and I think we're going to struggle against that wide receiver core, I think we've got too much for them. I really think we've got too much for them on both sides of the trenches. I think this offensive line can stymie this pass rush. I do not think that Goff gets touched on Sunday. I don't think anyone gets anywhere near him. I think we're able to run the ball very well. I think that our receivers are going to give those DBs, because the one big mismatch in the game for me is the Lions wide receivers against the Jags DBs. Now, I know the Lions wide receivers aren't absolutely amazing, but I think the Jags DBs are a lot worse. I think there's a big mismatch there. And I think on the other side of the ball, I think that defensive line for the Lions is going to give the Jags offensive line fits. For me, I think that Hutch is going to have a terrific game in this one. I think that Ali McNeil is going to continue his amazing stretch of form. I don't think they're going to give Lawrence much of a platform to throw the ball, and I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very well either. I think Pascal's going to be back. I think that's really going to help. I think Kaminsky is really going to help too. At the end of it all, I think the Lions are going to win this one, and I think they're going to win it quite nicely. Like, low key, I think this is a... I think some of the guys in the chat have it right. If it's 34-17 or 38-14, something like that, I think the Lions can really blow them away. I think we've got the absolute capacity to do that. And I will not accept a loss in this game. At the end of the day, and you made a fair point about them being maybe further along in their development, managing to spend a lot of money on receivers and other players, linebackers and defensive linemen. But we've got more bang for our buck. Our players are performing better than theirs are on a player-by-player basis. They just got more of them. And when it comes down to it, I trust ours more than I think theirs, than I trust theirs. At the end of the day, we should expect to win this game. We should. And if the Lions have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, really. So it's all or nothing here for me. Must win this game.
So this means that if we do lose, you're going to be the one that's whinging chronically on Monday, not me.
I will be very upset if we lose this game.
Wow. There you go, folks. That's an excuse to tune in on Monday. You get to see me be the rational one for a change. Actually, I'm highly irrational. Unless we get blown out, in which case I will be irrational. But
yeah, but if we get blown out, that won't be irrational. That'll be rational.
You know, it'll just be iridescent or whatever they call it then with rage. So I don't know. I just feel like this Jacksonville team is better than people give it credit for. So hey ho.
The practice report is now out for both teams. Evan Brown, Julian Okwara, as we said, did not practice. Jackson, Okuda, Pascal, Ragnow, Sewell, all limited in practice. Lucas and Melifonwu, all full practice. So hopefully we see at least the two of them. We'd hope that Sewell, Ragnow can go. And it sounds like Jackson and Okuda are both going to be back too. But for me, Pascal is such an important one. Such an important one. He has shown so much in the limited snaps he's had that it could be absolutely massive. Just an aside to break away from the Lions is the World Cup football, because Germany are out, drawing two. No, they won 4-2 against Costa Rica, but because Japan beat Spain, Japan top the group between them, Spain, and Germany, and Germany are out. That's huge. What a massive result. Japan beat both Spain and Germany. That's
Crazy
ridiculous.
World Cup. Oh, that's lovely.
Absolutely crazy. I'm so pleased for the Japanese. They are a really fun team to watch.
Oh no, I just love watching after the cheating against us with the Lampard goal and that. I'm done with Germany. They're just yeah, Germany can go out early as they like. I love it when Germany drop out of competitions. So great for us. Love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, I mean, yeah, I'll practice with. I think everyone's going to be back. So
yeah, I think so too.
I would. It's going to be a lot better because obviously the injury report's a lot better. So yeah, I'm fairly confident in this. I'm fairly confident that we can go out and get the business done. But hey.
On the Jags side, it is pretty much as you were. Etienne, Jones, and Cisco limited on Thursday as well. Roy Robertson Harris is back and full practice after his injury on Wednesday. And Flyard Condor says, iridescent with rage is my new favourite state of anger. So you've
iridescent's a great word.
Iridescent is a great word. I thought he was saying incandescent, which is also a great word.
And you can, but it just comes off the tongue, right? Iridescent. So
yeah,
they're just words that come off the tongue, which sound really good. I mean, there's the Yank one that I picked up. It's one of my favorite words. I don't know why, but bodacious.
And you can't say bodacious babe. It
just sounds great.
That's from a film, isn't it?
Is it?
Bodacious Babe, isn't it like Ferris Bueller or something?
You're back to tell me it's like a porno or something now. No, let's not do that. I'm pretty sure it's an American word. I thought it was a British word, but apparently it's not. So, but I like my terminology. So, yeah, these are the things. But yeah, as for the Jags,
I really shouldn't search for the origin of Bodacious Babe on Google. It doesn't result in good things.
No, you don't want your better half to find you Googling things like that. So.
Yeah. Search history, lol. Right.
What the hell is that guy your podcast with getting your filthy mind into? I'll get blamed for it, probably.
Yep.
I'll probably get blamed for it.
Probably. Right. I think we've covered this as best we can. We're going to be joined hopefully by Jags across the pond later on. If you're on the live stream, stick with us because we're going to be chatting after the show, so stay right there. But we will be back hopefully with Jags across the pond in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Apparently Jameson is playing Vince, so yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to be so happy when he's like announced. I'm just going to be like posting images on Twitter all day.
But try not to get too carried away because.
Oh, I know he's not going to be ready. He's been out a year.
He'll get 10 or 15 snaps. That'll be it.
He's been out a year. I'm not going to expect him to come back and post a 10 catches, 250-yard, 4 touchdowns.
If he gets one catch, it's positive.
No, but I'm still excited, and
me too.
I'm allowed to be excited. The Lions haven't picked someone in a draft for so long who I've been so excited about. That is literally how great this pick is. Even better than Penny. I love Penny, but who gets excited about an offensive tackle? I want to see a straight line burner who just absolutely rinses DBs and gives us touchdowns from anywhere on the field. That's just those guys are rare, especially if they can play as well. It's not like Tyquan Thornton, who has all the speed in the world but is useless and can't catch a ball, or Anthony Schwartz, who is all the speed in the world but can't catch a ball. And, and that's why these teams draft them so high. He got picked about 100 spots too high. Thornton got picked about 150 spots too high because teams value speed so badly. But Jameson has speed and skill. I mean, that is exciting. When you've got both of those attributes, then you're going to be excited. Remember, me and Ryan had no care for Schwartz whatsoever or Thornton. They're just speed merchants who run quick, and that's it. And that ain't special. But Jameson Williams is special.
I
And
can't
he
wait
will
to
be
see him.
special.
He's going to change so much for this offense. I mean, the way that he converts his power to speed is just off the chart. It doesn't look like he's putting any effort in whatsoever to get up to top speed. Like, it's effortless for him. He's gonna... Like, people think it's going to be a problem because of what he does over the top, but he does it on crosses, he does it on shallow routes, he does it on the slants. He's got every route in the playbook as well as that deep go ball. It doesn't just have to be that. So, absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see him. My thanks.
And when he's got KJ Jefferson throwing at him next year, I will die a happy man. That will be all my dreams come true. And I will never ask for anything again.
My thanks to Derek Bobaric, who has tipped $5. Not subscribed for or anything like that, but tipped $5. Much, much appreciated, sir, because I don't think that Twitch get anything from that whatsoever. So appreciate you very much. It makes a big difference. Bodacious. According to Urban Dictionary, and I've been pointed this way by Fly Odd Condor, it is an amalgamation of bold and audacious. To be bodacious is impressive, awesome, brave in action, remarkable, and prodigious.
Wow, that's basically like describing me. So, wow, no wonder I like the word.
And is bodacious. Oh, man.
Anthony is bodacious.
Bodacious,
there we go.
Babe.
I was about to say,
don't
trust Urban Dictionary, but after hearing the definition on Urban Dictionary, I'll take it.
I swear that bodacious is almost exclusively used to describe women.
I am the bodacious baldy.
The bodacious baldy.
It's like my version of the Notorious B.I.G. I am the bodacious baldy. Yeah, you know what? That's my new name. That's what I will come as on stream. The bodacious baldy.
Oh no, that's excellent. Oh man.
There we go. College football podcast hosted by Ryan McCluskey and the bodacious baldy. People will just tune in to see the name. Then they'll tune out about 5 seconds later, but I'll still get some cheap.
That's amazing.
Cheap hits, cheap views.
Derek on Twitch says, sounds like Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's so true.
Hey,
I can't get out of my head.
I've seen what Geordie's just bought. And is baldacious. God.
Oh dear. SW Lion says, how much will JMO help the other players get opportunities that they would not otherwise get without him there? JMO will draw extra attention. Now,
he'll help the run game.
That's the biggest thing. I don't think it's going to make a big difference to Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is doing the business anyway. But for Swift, and actually it's one thing I didn't get to that I wanted to get to on the recording. Swift started to turn the corner in terms of mentality, and I do think they will give him a bigger workload this week. Because you saw him actually managing to put the hammer down, run the ball with some grit, run at people rather than try and go around them. And I think that Campbell's going to see that and say, you do that again, you can get more snaps. So I think Swift could be the starter on Sunday.
No, he's not earned it. I'd still use Williams. In my version of this team, you've got to earn your place in there, and DeAndre's not done it. I'll just keep Williams going. But as for JMO, he will open up the run game. Why? Because you can't stack the box when you've got a run threat like him. unless you have a cornerback or a safety who is ridiculously fast and good at his job. And I look through that Jacksonville team and I don't see someone who's got the speed and the coverage skills to deal with JMO personally. So that means you've got to have a safety in there as well, which means you've got one less guy in the box, more room for your offensive line to work with. I think the run game's going to see a boon with him in there. Hell, I might give Jameson more snaps. I might give him 20 snaps, but just most of the time, I won't really have him doing much. I just have him there for the pure threat factor that he brings into this team. He doesn't need to be running deep routes all the time. He just needs to be there because you've got to respect him whilst he is.
What do we have around the NFL? Justin Fields fully practiced today for the Bears.
I hope he plays, and I hope he gets mauled.
I hope he plays, and I hope the Bears win, because I want that Rams pick to get even better.
See, there's a difference. I want them to win with a backup because the talk about Fields is insufferable.
I don't care. I like Fields. I think he's a nice person. Like, I want him to do well. I still want the Bears to lose, generally speaking, but I would quite like Fields to do well. I think he's quite a humble guy. Like, I see nothing in him that makes me dislike him as a person.
No, and that's the annoying thing. But, in fact, you know what I'd say? Watch his TikToks, then you'll soon learn to hate him. That's what I do. If I ever want to hate a player, I find their TikTok and start following him on that because his TikToks are insufferable. So you'll soon not like him through that. But
fair enough.
I mean, for me, I want to see the hope that Chicago Bears fans have. He's God incarnate. He's going to be our guy. He's going to be our savior. Their hearts are going to be in his hand. And I want to see them crushed as the crushing realization that they are still not going to get a quarterback who can throw for 4,000 yards. They're still not going to get a quarterback who's going to be any good for them. And they're still not going to be able to make the playoffs because they're a trash organization. And we've made it more times since 2010 than they have. I want to see them crushed. I want to see them suffer. And the way Bears fans suffer is by Fields being a bust. And as much as I like Fields, sorry, but the price on the other side of him being bad is much better. The Bears fans have been insufferable jackasses this year, and I cannot stand them anymore. If it weren't for Ryan and that lot of Bear Down report, I'd give up on them entirely. They are cool. Outside of that, the rest of them, the way they talk about Fields and everything he's done and that, it's like, he's not proven it yet. He really hasn't. He's still questionable as a passer. He runs the ball too much. He takes a lot of sacks. He holds onto the ball too long. He ain't proven that he can win when it matters. Yeah, you would think he'd done everything in the book by this point. And,
I mean, if you asked me to put money on whether he'd be the first quarterback to rush for 200 yards in a game, I would take that bet, and I would think I would easily make money on that because he's very good at it. But is he going to be a good to solid NFL quarterback? The jury is still very much out. He's got a good arm, but his mental processing is lower. And the way that they've schemed it up, we're going to throw him short passes and easy looks so he doesn't have to hold the ball too long, because when he does, it's a problem for us. It's exactly the same as Lamar Jackson early in his career. And if you saw Lamar Jackson through this season, he is not a good thrower of the ball. And why do Lions fans continually want Lamar Jackson? He is not...
Oh, no, you're going to open a can of worms. Don't open this can of worms.
I will open this can of worms because so many Lions fans are dead set on Lamar Jackson. Do you want someone who primarily is a good rushing threat, but his arm is worse than average in the NFL? Those two things add up to an average quarterback in the NFL, and one that typically struggles in their playoffs against good teams. Rushing quarterbacks mean that you win against the bad teams most of the time. That's what rushing quarterbacks do. Rushing quarterbacks actually do not end up winning a lot of playoff games if they don't have the arm to do it in clutch time, because they get behind and they don't know what to do with it.
And the big problem I have with it is it kind of renders our entire rebuild invalid then. Because one, you're giving away all your future draft capital. So you cannot continue to build your team with elite picks. And two, the money. You're going to screw your cap. We've only just, all this time after Bob Quinn has left, we've only just started to get a hold of our finances. This is going to be the first off season where we have even maybe a small modicum of money to work with. It might not even be that much, depending on who they cut and that. You'll go give that all away. This team is young and it is built for a rookie QB contract. It is built for a rookie QB contract. So you can pay all these guys going forward. I mean, we're soon going to have to pay the class that has Panay, Amon-Ra, and Aleem in it. That 3 big contracts they're going to be when they come up. And then the year after that, you're going to have Hutch. You're going to have JMO. You're going to be in a position where you've got a lot of contracts coming your way thick and fast because we've built through the draft and these players really outperforming expectations and we're going to have to pay them a lot to keep them all together. So doing that with Lamar, you can kiss goodbye to Penny School. I mean, at the money he's going to want, and when he wants it, even the uplifting cap is going to be problematic. This team is built to have a rookie QB contract for 5 years or 4, dependent, so we can pay all these guys and have them all together with our young quarterback of the future, who hopefully after 2 or 3 years is ready to push on and win things. So getting Lamar throws all that out the window. All of it. Gone. Can't do it.
The thing about it is that if you were drafting a perfect timeline in terms of when to get the rookie deal in to pay everyone, it wouldn't even be this off-season. It would be next, because as you rightly say, all of the rookie deals aren't this off-season. They're the one after this. It's not this off-season, it's next. I would rather run with Goff on his current deal than having to re-sign Lamar to 55 plus. With the capital you give up, and the way that Goff, as much as I dislike his production and dislike the way that in clutch moments he seems to throw it away, the offense is good enough that if the defense is good enough, this team would be competitive. Lamar would hamstring it so that maybe the offense is slightly better with him than Goff, almost certainly better with him than Goff, but you can't get the pieces on defense to get over the line. This team would be 500 with Lamar rather than 4-7 with Goff. And it's like, I'm sorry, did you really move the needle enough to make it worth it? And the answer is no.
No. You committed to a full rebuild. No full rebuilds. Go out and get a premier quarterback. And, like I say, it's even debatable that it's premier. You don't go out and sign a massively expensive QB when you've committed to a full rebuild. That's the whole point of a full rebuild, is you build it from the ground up. Get all your centerpieces in and have the money to pay him, because Sewell's going to be the next left tackle here eventually. You got to pay him. You got to pay Aleem. You got to pay Hutch. You've invested in trench guys, and trench guys command bigger budgets. You've got Amon-Ra, who's going to get wide receiver 1 money when we paid a round 4 pick for him, which makes that draft class so expensive. It's great, but we've got to pay Penny and Amon-Ra the same year. Can you imagine how much money that is going to be?
I just hope the cap goes up enough that we can afford it, because Penne will be up to $30 million a year, and Amon-Ra will be 20 to 25. I really see that.
Exactly, and you look at how much money you've invested on your offensive line. I mean, I guess we're going to have to pay Jonah soon, so there's going to be that.
I think Jonah might come at a good price. I think that he's been excellent, but he's got enough about his injury profile and that sort of thing, and the fact that we took him as a bit of a risk and a bit of a project, that I think that he'd come not at a discount, but I don't think he's going to be asking for the world.
But I think the problem is someone will pay him a lot more.
Yeah, maybe so.
Reliable guards are hard to come by. So that's the problem when you build through your trenches and you build a lot of trench players at once. You've got to pay them all at the same time. So, sure. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's going to be a thing when Decker's done, Penny gets his money. I think that's kind of like swap for swap deal with him, but you still got Frank here, you're paying a lot to, then you're going to go out and draft another tackle. Lamar just screws our financial plans to keep this young team together, and we can't afford that.
A couple of comments that I just want to address. Austin Damon says, no, not that much. With the cap rising, I am factoring in inflation. So I just want to point out, I don't mean in today's money, I mean in tomorrow's money. SW Line says, please stay the hell away from Lamar Jackson, overrated and overpriced. Overrated, I say no. I think he is a legitimately excellent quarterback. He's just not at the right time, at the right price for us, which is something different. I think he's a perfectly good quarterback for Baltimore, who have schemed up their team specifically to cater to his talents. Baltimore is the best place for Lamar Jackson. I think that they can do big things with him, but I don't think we can, even though theoretically with our offensive line, it's a reasonable landing spot for him. I just don't see it while he's under contract, and he will be under contract next year because they'll tag him at the very worst. OnePride40 says, if JMO balls out, boy oh boy, will he be a fortune. Yes, but with 4 years more contract and 2 years worth of tagging, that's 6 years down the future if we want it to be. So we don't have to worry about that right now.
It's the sole draft class we've got to worry about now. Absolutely. In terms, because next year is when you start paying, and you would assume they'll do Penne early because they'll want to keep him here long term. So,
yeah. Geordie says an interesting question, or asking, do you think any players will take team-friendly deals structure-wise because they will want to stay? I don't think that they will take team-friendly deals, but I don't think they're going to take the piss. I think that we've been fun enough and exciting enough, and they're going to enjoy the coaching enough that they will not try and fleece us. That's not the same as being team-friendly. I think that they will look for market value here.
I think team-friendly only comes into the equation, one, when you're a vet, and two, you're looking to win a chip. I think that's when team-friendly comes into the equation. Right now, we have a lot of young guys who want their payday. And like I say, I don't think they're going to take the piss, like you, but I don't think they're going to be cheap either, because you have to pay market value. Penne is a premium tackle. Amon-Ra is a premium receiver. Aleem is a premium defensive lineman. Now, I don't think his market will be as big as the others, but I still think it's going to cost a pretty penny when it comes to re-signing him. Hutch is at a premium position and will command a lot of money eventually. They aren't going to take the mick. We're not going to see Bob Quinn level deals of incompetency. We're not going to be paying a Trey Flowers-esque guy $28 million a year or whatever stupid it was that we were paying him.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't going to be cheap either. So you've always got to keep that in mind. So the best way to win, it's like the Chargers have done with, I know the Chargers haven't done it very well, but the Chargers got Herbert at a time when they could invest a lot. And they invested a lot in this team this year because they're on the rookie deal now. Everyone's injured and they didn't get a right tackle, which was stupid. But the principle is sound. They kind of had a team there, sort of, almost already, like we have. We've got a team, a lot of young players. Then you go get your quarterback and do it then. They did it right. You want to do it like the Chargers do. Because if we get the quarterback this year, we've got, 4 years, so we've got to pay him, really. Or at least a minimum of 3, even if he plays really well. It's sort of after the 3rd year.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in a good position for the next 3 years after that, really.
Yeah.
Get all the guys signed up, and then the cap's going to be hopefully big enough that you can put your quarterback on a mega deal and it don't affect your team building ability.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting question because I've always favoured in this draft, unless you can get Bryce Young, which is a question. If you can't get Bryce Young, I want to take a guy that I believe is a day 3 pick, and that's either Cam Ward or KJ Jefferson, who I believe is a top of the day 3 pick. I think he'll be a round 4 pick. I know that you think he'll be a day 2 pick, but it'll be there or thereabouts. I think mid round 3, late round 3, early round 4 is where he's going to land. The problem with that is in terms of roster building, like in my head, I'm like, okay, Goff is mediocre. He's not the reason we're losing. He's not really the reason we're winning. Let's take a shot at quarterback. If it works, the sky's the limit. If it doesn't, you'll get the pick the year after that. But I'm worried about what that does for our roster building if the team goes to shit because we pick a quarterback that's low, we cut Goff, and we start them all year, which is kind of what I want to do, but it all goes wrong. then maybe people want to leave, and I don't want to risk that either. But I don't really want to have Goff and a young quarterback on the roster because I don't believe in developing a guy like that. I just don't think it works particularly well. Everyone out there who thinks that Mahomes wouldn't have been Mahomes because he sat for 14 games. Like, sorry, I think you're wrong. Mahomes would have been exactly the guy he is.
Yeah, it doesn't. Did you see that interview today? Was it today, or he's recently done where he was tipping off the Chiefs as to where he was going to be picked because he deliberately wanted to go there. It's really interesting. Like Matt Nagy gave him all the insider information for his interview before he went for it at the combine. He gave him a list of all the plays Andy Reid was going to ask him about, all the things, etc. And Mahomes spent all night learning it all, went into the interview the next day, knew all the questions off by heart. And it was all this thing that led to them drafting him. That's why they traded up to get him. Because he said, look,
Wow.
I've had calls from teams. He goes, I will not be there at 12. If you want me, come get me. And
Wow.
yeah, there was some real insider stuff there. And that makes it all the more funnier because all the Bears fans were like, why did we get Mahomes? We got Trubisky instead. Well, your head coach at the time was working for the Chiefs and got him drafted there. It's really funny, but yeah, I don't know. Quarterback's a weird one next year. Bryce is the only starter worth a damn. If you're going to go straight down the starting day one route, outside of that, you're picking a developmental guy and you're sitting him. And the only way I accept that is if Goff stays on a cut rate deal, because isn't it? His guaranteed money's done now after this year, isn't
His
it?
guaranteed money's done, but the cap
There
hit
is
is
still
still
a cap.
based
There is
on
still
his.
a cap hit.
Yeah, it's his prorated bonus. So 10
But we
million
are
this
not.
year, 5 million next year.
But we are not technically handcuffed to him for any more than that. We ain't
No,
paying him
no,
any
no,
more
that's
than that.
it.
The guaranteed is done. So either you restructure his deal for another year to make it a lot more palatable and put him on money that he's probably worth to this team, not the 32 million cap hit he'd be otherwise, and have a guy with him and develop him in that year and say to Goff, look, you got one more chance now. This team's yours one more year. It's another draft in there, more players in there. Your last chance while this guy sits and we see what happens. That's the only way I find it palatable to do that. Otherwise, I'm with you. I throw a rookie straight in and trial by fire. If he's good enough, he's good enough. One thing that Brad Holmes knows is personality and their ability, their desire to come in and perform and not be phased. That's a hallmark of every single Brad Holmes draft pick. They've all got that winning mentality where they want to get better, where no is never an answer. They always seem to pick themselves up and keep going, and that's the attitude you want in a quarterback. That's the prime attitude you need in a quarterback. So I trust him to find that guy if he's there.
Just replying to Cool Down Rat, who was saying, rookie QBs get 5 years in round 1 or 4 in round 2, so maybe it's not 3 years. But I was trying to say to him that you were indicating quarterbacks who succeed often get paid as soon as possible, which is after year 3.
I mean, look at all the ones at the minute. Kyler got paid after 3, right? And I'm not getting into a debate on how good, but Kyler
Mahomes
got paid after
3.
Mahomes got paid after 3. Kyler got paid after 3. Josh
Allen, yeah,
paid after 3.
I'm pretty sure it was.
A lot of these premium quarterbacks now, they don't get there. You want to tie them down, and what they did with a lot of these guys, like Mahomes, they make it an 8-9 year deal, but the first 2 or 3 years are very cap friendly. It's like Mahomes' contract after this year is king awful. I mean, have you seen it? It gets really, really bad after this year because they've had the last 2 years of his new deal, which has been team friendly. But after this, it just keeps escalating and getting worse. So that's what teams do now. 3 years, you pay your QB. You don't even risk letting him get to the point where, because if after 4 years you decide, oh, actually, you know what? I'm not sure if I want to pay him, or we've not done the deal. The quarterback might go, well, screw it, I don't want to be here. And I know you can tag him and use that, but you could get in a very nasty situation where he refuses to play on the tag or whatever, and you don't leave it that long. You've got to make your quarterback feel valued. So teams pay them earlier now by right. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's what they do, isn't it?
Yeah,
All the big guys
it
now
is.
have been paid early. Burrow will be due. Is Burrow been paid?
No, not yet. He's in year 3,
So
so
he should
can't
be,
get paid until this off-season.
but he will probably get paid this offseason. They won't wait till year 4 or 5 to
But
pay
you
him.
only pay a guy like that if you're absolutely certain that they are the guy. But if you're Joe Burrow, he's the guy, and he's the guy for the rest of his career. There's no falling off where he's at. He can't get worse than he is. Like, there's only up for him. And Josh Allen, we've seen a bit of regression from him this year, but he's still an
He's injured.
unbelievable quarterback.
And I think they're playing him hurt when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't think he's right where he should be in terms of his health, but the Bills have a window and they're trying to maximize it. So, SW, I get Bryce Young's size is not going to be an issue in the NFL. I can guarantee you that right now. He is that clever. It will not matter. The small quarterbacks are the ones. It's like Murray. He has issues with his processing, his decision making. It's not top tier. It's not elite to me. And this is from a guy. I loved him coming out of college. I really did.
You were Kyler Murray's biggest fan. If people were fans of the show from 2 years ago and last year,
no.
Yeah,
it is, and I still like him, but he doesn't have the processing capacity that Bryce Young does. Height. It doesn't. I mean, the LSU footage I put in there, he's making throws down the center of the field all the time because you can see where he's going. He's passing it through players, which is just crazy. I honestly cannot overstate just how high a CPU this guy has in his mind. It will be fine. And you see some of the hits he's taken, his durability is not an issue either. He is a Detroit quarterback in terms of he is tough as nails.
He's taken some punishment this year.
He's taken some rotten punishment. That O-line has been bad for him this year. He has taken a lot of punishment, and he is still playing. He is still going, and he's still making crazy throws. His size and his durability, I can assure you now, are not an issue at the next level. So you do not need to worry about it if we get him.
Well, I would say everyone's durability. Everyone's durability in the NFL is a problem. Luck is a massive factor in this game. People can just go out injured all the time. I would say that Young's injury profile is not any more concerning than any other player. That's the way I'd phrase it. Because of course it's a concern. Because we're human and bones break and, you've got all of these things that can just go wrong. And yeah, he's a smaller guy, so maybe he's slightly more at risk. But like you say, he's clever, and he's taken the punishment and proven that he can do that. So I wouldn't be any more worried about him and that than I would be Stroud or anyone else that you're considering at quarterback, Levis, whatever.
Well, he doesn't take unnecessary sacks either. That's Fields' problem. Holds on to the ball too long, trying to make plays.
Yeah.
Fields is going to get himself killed in the NFL if he doesn't alter the way he plays. Bryce don't do that. He doesn't take unnecessary. If the ball's got to go, the ball's got to go. And that's where durability. That's why I would trust him more. Obviously, like you said, you can't guarantee anything. Anyone can get hurt on a play, but you can minimize the risk to yourself by being smart and playing smart. And he does that better than anybody. His processing skills are NFL level already. He looks like he plays on Sundays already, so I have no issues about the way he plays. I don't know. I'm just. I hope that the Rams royally screw up and put us in a position for him if that's going to be the case.
I mean, so I've said it before, and listeners of the show will know that when they were 3-3 or 3-4, I said they were a 6-win team, and that looks very fucking optimistic right now. And everyone else said I was a fool. But it's come to pass, and not just because they've been unlucky with injuries, but they've just been bad. Anyway, they've just been bad. Their star players are underperforming. It's all going downhill for them. I don't think they win another game. I think that Houston have a shot. in 2 games, and they need to win both of those games to put the Rams into number 1 overall. But I make that a 5% shot that Houston could end up 3-1-13. They're 3-13-1. And the Rams will be 3-14 and gives number 1 overall. I really genuinely think there's a chance. I think it could happen.
I wonder when the last time someone got a number 1 pick from someone else's pick. I feel like it's not happened very much recently.
That was traded from the season before the season started.
Traded, not like traded on deadline day, or I mean like on the run up to it as anything.
Because more often than not, you're trading a pick because you're good.
Yeah. And technically, we traded these picks knowing that they probably wouldn't be the best in the world. At least year 1, we knew wouldn't be the best, and it was the worst. But I don't reckon that it's going to be a while since one was naturally traded.
It's got to be. In fact, it may never have happened.
I'm just trying to think.
If only there was a certain researcher here at Royal Alliance who could do this for us. Unfortunately, he's working, so...
Oh, I'm sure I shall find it out at some point. But
now that we have Miss Harley Quinn Natasha in the chat, our resident Pats fan, should we talk about Thursday Night Football?
It's Pats Bills, isn't it?
It is Pats Bills. Pats at home. Pats 6-5, 4th in the East against Buffalo 8-3, joint first. Only 2 games back. It's in Buffalo, I believe. No, it's in New England. Beg your pardon.
And Von Miller's done for the year, isn't he?
Von Miller is on IR. ESPN have it at 73% Bills, 27% Pats. I'm incredulous to see that Mac Jones has more interceptions and passing touchdowns this year. I know he's had a bad year, but didn't realize it was that bad. How do you make out this game? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't keep saying teams are frauds, but I feel like the Bills are slightly fraudulent this year.
I get that feeling as well.
I just feel like they're not as good as they should be. And like I say, I think they should have put Allen on IR and let him heal. I don't think he looks right. And I think they are risking his long-term health for short-term gain. I think they're in a position where they could still win the conference or get through to the postseason by sitting him. So the Patriots always bring it when they need to. I mean, their defense is playing ridiculously well this year. I mean, I can't remember the exact stats, but they're like top 5 metrics in sacks, picks, pressure rates. I mean, Judon's having a crazy
unbelievable year.
He destroyed us on his own. You know, he gave Taylor Decker one of his worst performances in years.
Of his career.
He ruined us. Yeah, he ruined us. So, I mean, it's a case of that defense can win you games, but can Mac Jones win you games? And that's where it gets a bit iffy. I don't feel like the Patriots have the firepower to beat the Bills. If they're going to win, then I think their defense has to keep it below 17 points.
But they can, though.
Oh, they can, yeah. I'm not saying they're not got a chance. But I feel like it's going to have to be a very low-scoring affair for the Patriots to win. That's just my take on it because, again, I don't trust the Pats' offense enough. Despite how good their defense are, you know, I don't trust it to. You both sides of the ball have got to work in unison together to be able to win. It's like what I was saying about the ACC championship that's coming up this week in college football. You got Clemson, you got UNC. Now everyone's picking UNC because they've had a great year, etc. I've picked Clemson purely because Clemson have an elite defense and that offense. I know DJU is bad and he might not even play. Klubnik might play. But they've got the running back in Will Shipley, who's one of the best in the country. They've got the offense to be able to put up a decent amount of points to go with that defense that they have. Whereas UNC, their defense is awful. Trash. It's been straight trash for years and given up loads of points. But Drake May and the offense are really good. But they're coming up against a mismatch when it comes to the defense. Both sides of the ball have to work in unison together, and I can't see them keeping Clemson down enough points for Drake May to have a chance to win it. Even though I think UNC overall a better team, I just think they're not balanced enough. I think Clemson are better balanced, and I would bet on them to win that quite happily. I see the same with the Patriots and the Bills here. I don't see the alignment of the Patriots in terms of what they're facing, balancing well. So I think the Bills win. I do think the Bills win. But if the Patriots have taught us anything, it's every time you write them off, they prove you wrong. But you've got to try and be unbiased to that opinion against it. So,
Well, I've just.
I mean, hey, I'm not doing that bad because I called the Michigan result over a month ago, and I don't remember any other college football analyst anywhere saying 3 scores to Michigan, bar me. And I did
so
that
what we're
based
saying,
on
Ant, is
how
that
the
you're
teams...
the best national college football analyst.
No, of course I'm not.
All hail the victor!
All hail bodacious Baldy. But no, I did it with reason. I did it all with reason in hand. That's how I thought about it. Michigan just a lot tougher team. Ohio State mentally not got it, and they didn't. That's what I saw from weeks of performances, and this is what I see with the Bills and the Patriots. So sometimes it's going to win, sometimes it's going to not. But I was just dead happy that my Michigan one came. I didn't see anyone saying else Michigan by 3 scores. Even their own fans were saying to me, "You stupid, Anthony." But hey, I was right.
So I have just wagered some money on Thursday Night Football. I'm not going to be watching it because I'll be soundly asleep because it starts at 1:30 in the morning our time. But I have put money on the Patriots on the money line at 33-20. That is plus 165. I've put money on Pats to win, Ramondre Stevenson 75 plus rushing yards, and Stevenson to score a touchdown. And I kind of think those two go hand in hand. That is 6-1, which in American money is plus 600. And I've put money on the under 43.5 at 10 to 11 to 11 to 10.
Wow, you bet on the Patriots.
I bet on
I feel like you're pandering to the crowd, specifically Harley there.
So the reason
you are a Bills fanboy.
I am a Bills fanboy.
There is no bigger non-Bills fanboy than you. There's no bigger Josh Allen fanboy that's not a Bills fan than you.
The thing I'm thinking is, at home, Bill Belichick, Allen not playing quite like himself. I mean, the Pats dominated this game last year in the snow game. Now, it isn't a snow game, this game, as far as I'm aware. But you want someone to take advantage of Allen not being quite himself. I think the Pats have got the team to make this a gritty, low-scoring affair, and I think that suits them well. I can definitely just see the Pats coming away with a 1 or 2 point victory in this game, because the Bills have not been themselves for weeks. Never mind Allen, they're just not quite at it.
But I feel like this is a year they're breaking curses. They beat the Chiefs at last, which they'd not done before.
Oh, that was an incredible game too.
I feel like this is a year they're breaking curses, because didn't they get swept by the Pats last year? There was that nasty... It was either a snow game or a wet weather game where the Patriots just ran it down their throat all day. It's like it was like a triple option day for New England, and they managed to beat them through it. I don't feel like the Bills beat them last year. So I kind of feel like this is their last hurdle. They need to get over the Patriots. They needed to get over the Chiefs. They need to get over the Pats, establish domination there. And, for his injury, they're still scoring points and playing well. So that's what I see there. Brandon seems to think it's not happened, by the way, the trade a pick and it ends up in a first. He says he's had a look. So...
Oh, really?
Yeah. He goes, got your question about the first overall pick being traded the year before. I don't believe it's ever been done from what I've researched and Googled. So that is intriguing. Oh, and someone else has just mentioned, Matt, Pat's on a short week. Bills are not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Matt's just thinking, God, I've put money on this now.
No. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with it. Sorry, someone's just sent me an invite to a wedding, so I've got distracted. One of my best friends is getting married.
Oh, that's nice. But there's 15 people in here still watching us, so we kind of need to keep chatting.
I know, I'm sorry.
All right, folks, I'm just with you. Ask me questions and I'll respond to you.
Right, there we go. Apologies. Where are we? Pat's on a short week.
Oh, Flyout Condor says there were 7 passes by New England that day. Oh, there might have been.
I thought there was less than that, to be honest. I thought it was like 3 or something, so fair enough. I love
this. Flower Condor says Bodacious Baldy and the Iridescent with Rage is my new favourite punk band. I like that. I feel like I could get with that.
The Boldacious with
Baldy that's iridescent with rage. That's cool. Like, what do you want to do tonight? Let's go and see Baldacious Baldy and iridescent with rage. That's cool.
Never mind the never mind the Buzzcocks. Here's the Boldacious.
I used to love Never mind the Buzzcocks was the best show.
Have you not watched the reboot?
No.
So do you like Greg Davis?
Yes, I do.
He is more than himself on this show. So if you like Greg Davis in anything else he's been in, it's one of the best TV shows out there right now. It's incredible.
I don't like how Baldacious is taking off in the chat. I just feel like, okay, that could be Baldacious. Deathfan Man goes, given Corum's season-ending injury and Holmes' proclivity to draft injured players, is Corum to Detroit going to be the third pick or fourth round? Third round or fourth round?
No.
Oh,
no.
No. Like I said at the start of the show, Holmes picks based on ceiling. I think with Levi, his ceiling was very high. With Pascal, his ceiling is very high. You know, with Mitchell, the way you're getting him, his ceiling is incredibly high compared to what you can get out of him. I just don't see the same ceiling with Corum. I don't feel like I'm ever going to talk about him as a top 10 or 15 running back in the NFL. And in a draft where there are a ton of good running backs this year, you don't need to go down the injured route. I mean, you don't need to go down that route. I don't know how bad it is. It depends what kind of knee surgery. Usually knee surgery, even at its most minimum, is not good. I mean, is he going to be back for the preseason circuit, for his pro day? Who knows? But I just find this draft is stocked. If you want pure, bell cow guys, you've got Mohamed Ibrahim, you've got Israel Abanikanda. If you've got dual threats, you've got Chase Brown, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs, you've got just a little bit of everything in terms of running backs in the draft this year. Everywhere, all over. I feel like you can limit the damage you do in terms of mileage on the clock and injuries and stuff like that. I don't know that Corum being a homegrown project's going to matter that much.
It's not going to move the needle. The guy is a top of day 3 pick at best when he's fit. Look, Blake Corum is an exceptional college running back. Exceptional. But he is slightly faster than the average DB and defensive lineman in college football. He's slightly more elusive than those guys. Try and see what happens when he's up against people like Trayvon Walker on the edge all the time. He ain't gonna break away from those guys in terms of speed. He ain't gonna break away from the bigger guys in terms of physicality. In the NFL, his projection is decidedly average. Sorry. Like, how many people have you seen succeed in the NFL with his athletic profile at the running back position? It doesn't happen very often.
Michigan fans, that's the direction you want to send your hate.
I wish I was wearing...
Not me. Not me.
I wish I was wearing my Michigan t-shirt right now just so I could show that it wasn't just me being a down on the team. I have sympathies with the team, but Edwards is by far the higher ceiling player. By far.
My big issue here is I want to re-sign Jamal Williams next year. Jamal Williams is my power back who gets the dirty yards. I want a dual threat guy to go with him. I feel like you need to have different types of running back in your room to diversify your offense. We see it with Swift. He is a dual threat running back. And with Williams, it means you can do so many different things there. I think they should use the two-back sets more like SW Lion has said for years. And now that we're using the two-back sets a bit more, that running back room's even more dangerous because you don't know what's coming your way. If I pair Corum and Williams together, I know that I've got two power backs who are going to run the ball. He ain't a receiving back, and neither is Jamal. For me, that limits what you can do on offense. Yeah, you might have two good power backs, but I feel like I can't get the full potential out of that room. I would sooner have a dual threat guy in with him, and it's just my personal preference. Just so happens that Georgia has another dual threat running back coming out of college this year. Just so happens you could replace him like for like with Kenny McIntosh. You could have Jahmyr Gibbs. It just gives you something a little bit different. This is not me hating on Corum. I think he's really good. And I'm a guy who's usually negative on Michigan. But my personal preference is I want a dual threat guy to go with Jamal. That's my only thing with him. What's your mouth wide open for?
Because Cool Down Rat found the quote about bodacious I've had in my head but couldn't pinpoint, and it's a really obvious quote, and I couldn't pinpoint it, and it fucked me off. It's from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and I can't.
Oh, that's probably where I know it from.
This is going to be a most bodacious day. Like, I knew that quote. It's so frustrating.
Thank you. Someone asked me about A-Chain.
Yeah, so Brandon Cairted. But first of all, no, let's go there, and then we'll go back to James Houston.
Devin A-Chain, love Devin A-Chain. He has carried Texas A&M's offense this year, which has been a rotten year. I think A-Chain was the one I was thinking about earlier. He had 40 carries the other week for 230 yards. That's when they blew out LSU this weekend, who were in the SEC title game. I felt really sorry for A-Chain this year because he is on a trash team and he has broken his back literally carrying that team forward. But that's again what I mean. I didn't even think about A-Chain in this year's running back class, but he's bloody good. Like, you've got Deuce Vaughn in there, you've got Kendre Miller, the TCU guy. They're all amazing, but A-Chain is another power back, but he is a receiving guy as well. He can be used in the receiving game. So yeah, I'm big on him. I really like him. Israel Abanikanda is my biggest preference of everybody, but A-Chain is up there.
There was also a question about James Houston, several questions. Giovanni Lyons said, again, maybe I missed it in the beginning, but what do you think of him? We did cover it just because he got nominated for Rookie of the Week. Obviously, he's only had 5 defensive NFL snaps. He did have 10 on special teams too, but 5 on defense, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery on that special teams play too. Obviously, he's a terrific talent, one identified before the draft by you, Ant? I'm sure I did. I was bigging you guys up for identifying him.
Yeah, Ryan found him first because Ryan does all the FCS stuff, which is where he came from. But I think it's because when we did a lot of the HBCU stuff, that overlaps with the FCS. So Ryan kind of came across him first, but we both really liked him. As he said on stream, I remember him saying on the draft stream, "Oh, we've drafted the problem," and instantly we both knew who it was. So he is very talented. I mean, I think he was at Florida. He was either at Florida or Florida State for years.
It was Florida. I said Miami initially, but it was Florida.
He was at Florida for about 3 years and it didn't work out. He was a linebacker there, but then he moved to kind of outside linebacker at Jackson State and just went crazy. But you could see his pass rush potential. He's kind of got the mind of a linebacker, because linebackers kind of have to have a high IQ with things because that's part of the position. So you could kind of see the high IQ in his game, but you could also see the pass rushing potential. He won a multitude of different ways. And that's the biggest thing for a pass rusher is how you win. I mean, you saw him use the swim technique the other day. To get to Allen, he got underneath the tackle's shoulder and just completely rinsed him. But, you sort of saw the swipe on the tight end. I think it was the tight end. You kind of saw him swipe the tight end away. Then he swam under the tackle. Beating two different guys two different ways and making a sack on the play, that makes you a dangerous player. When you've got all that in your arsenal, you don't know what's coming. So it was always going to be a case. He'd only had the one big year of production, and it was down in the FCS. So he was never just going to come into the NFL and light it up straight away. It was always going to be a case of refining that technique further and preparing him for a massive increase in, talent you're facing against. But you just saw in that little window the other week, those 5 snaps, you saw what he's capable of. And he's a guy who wants an opportunity. He's got a big ass chip on his shoulder. He spent years sat on the sidelines of Florida not getting a chance there. He's got a big ass chip on his shoulder. So when someone gives him an opportunity, he takes it. And you saw him do it the other day. He only got 5 snaps. Well, fumble recovery, 2 sacks. He's like, right, play me more. I want more. And you can't say no to him when he does that. And I expect that to continue. I think he will be a very solid part of our rotation. I don't think he's ever going to be an edge one. He just won't be an edge one, but he will be what we want Julian Okwara and Austin Bryant to be, which is a very solid rotational piece who's good against the run, who will come in and get you production, who will get you crucial sacks when you need it, who will benefit from having less, less attention on him because you have got a stud on the other side. But I love what James did, and I'm glad he's got the opportunity, and I'm glad he waited here. He showed the right attitude, went onto the practice squad, waited his turn. He's had to wait a very long time to be elevated. I think there's a lot of guys on that practice squad who are the same. You hear about Jamar. Juice Staley wants to bring him up. He's ready. He's waited patiently. It's his second year, but he loves what he's done. I just think these guys are raring, ready to go, and they've got the attitude they need. So I think Houston's going to be a big success here.
I think so too. I don't see him being an edge one either, but as a rotational guy, someone who can develop, I think he can be the number 3. You got your 2 defensive ends out there, and I think he could sub in for either one of them or be the guy on NASCAR packages. And I think if you can get that out of him, be a disruptive force. I mean, the way he dropped the shoulder to get the sack last week was absolutely exceptional. I just enjoyed it so much. Trying to see other comments if we can. Harley talking about...
I'm not ignoring you, Grandizer. I'm really not.
I tried to say to him, you're more of someone who talks on the show rather than someone who reads the comments, whereas I lay the questions out for you, you tend to answer them while I read the comments. That seems to be the sort of rhythm when we're a twosome that we've kind of fallen into. So
I'm in the comments. If there's questions, I'll answer them.
I know it. I know it.
Answer them.
So Cool Down Rat was saying redrafting developmental quarterbacks, how many starting quarterbacks were actually drafted outside the first 2 rounds? And Flyout Condor replied with Prescott, Brady, and I've gone in with Wilson and Cousins. They're the 4. I don't think there are any others.
No, but that's the big thing with me. I've been very vocal saying I would like KJ this year in a similar role. There is always an exception to the rule. Now, by and large, these rules exist for a reason. It's mostly first-round quarterbacks that succeed, but the big thing in your talent evaluation, it's about being able to see the exceptions to the rule, the guys who are a little different to everybody else, who have that little razzmatazz about them and can buck the trend. Because there is someone who can always buck the trend in college who, you go back and look at some of these guys, like say your Daks, your Russells and that, you can see areas in the game in college where you can see they're not worthy of being picked so low down. So, yeah, I always say the same. Don't just be dismissive because of a general trend in rules. It's like I had this argument with linebackers. You don't pick linebackers at 7 in the draft, etc. But Micah Parsons has been pretty good in the NFL. And I'm not saying we should have drafted him over Penei, but at the time I said he is an exceptional player who is worthy of bucking the trend of what you usually do with these guys. It's the same with KJ Jefferson this year. I love him as a quarterback so much. because he has the dual threat capability of a running back. He is built like a running back. It's so hard to bring him down. There's so many things on tape. He gets tackled 3, 4, 5 times. He keeps going. He takes linebackers head on, keeps getting the extra yardage that he needs to. But he's not just a running guy. He has the arm talent to hit every single level of the field. This is the guy who elevated Treylon Burks this year, who's had Josh Hazelwood this year, an Arkansas program that's been a lot better than it usually is in recent history. He's got all the aspects of his game required to be a great NFL quarterback. He just lacks the time as a starter. It's been a year and a bit now, and he's missed a few games this year because of injury, but all the intangibles for his game are there. He's smart, he's tough, he's got the throws in him, and I think he's going to be a really good quarterback on Sundays, and I hope that someone agrees with me, but I think he can buck a trend, so that's why I put my stock so heavily in that. I think you can get away with not going round one this year because of what I watch. I could be wrong, and I probably will be wrong, but I will always do the research to back it up, and you can always book trends.
Right, so our Jags guy has just said he's still at work, so he won't be able to make it and apologise. So what I'm going to do is just start up the recording again, just so I can sign off and then cut out the bit saying we're hoping to get him.
Okay. Do you just want me to stay quiet then?
Yeah, if you don't mind. If that's all right.
I'm sure the chat will love that.
Give me 2 seconds.
Recording in progress.
Right, that's going to do it for us on the Roar of the Lions UK podcast. You can follow us on Roar of the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And the group for worldwide fans on Facebook is Detroit Lions Fans UK 1 Pride Worldwide. You can read Ash's preview articles on roarofthelionsuk.com. Please don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your chosen podcast provider, or leave comments down below on the YouTube channel. All the likes and what have you, they help us out. Just remains for me to thank my co-host, Anthony Fitzpatrick. And good luck, Lions. We believe in you. Let's get the dub and get back right. 5-7 and make a run for the playoffs. Let's go, Lions. 1 Pride.
1 Pride.
Recording stopped.
There we go.
Yay, sign off done.
Cool. All right, that should do that. Don't get your bloody knickers in a twist, says Grandise.
They are chafing me a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
That's the most British thing that an American person has tried to say in a British way, and it's come across as British. Don't get your knickers in a twist is very much a British saying.
Here comes the night owl walking through my door.
I feel.
Actually, interesting thing. I used to do a radio show with one of my friends, and my DJ name was the Night Owl because I used to work nights at the time. Yeah, we had. Wow. He had a show. It was this game, and it had like an in-game radio show, which was done by real people as people were playing it. So every Wednesday night, I'd go to his house, and we'd spend an hour playing songs and doing stuff like that. I don't know whether it still exists or not. I don't think the record. Oh God, what's it called now? SpaceX or not SpaceX? What was it? I'll have to ask him. It's been years since. It's been about 5 or 6 years since we last did it.
Or like XCOM or something, or I don't know.
It's not XCOM. It's Star Citizen Base. Is it Star Citizen Base? It's called.
Sounds legit.
No, it was. It was a game that was
Star Citizen.
Star Citizen. Yeah, Star Citizen. No, it was a game that was funded, it was a crowdfunder, one of the very early crowdfunding games. And one of the cool things they used to do is, they used to, when you were in the game, like you have radio shows you do on GTA and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They had this one, and it had a bot doing it. And then if anytime certain people want to go on and do a show, they would do a show. So every Wednesday night, he was called the Cosmic Badger. I was called the Night Owl. And we were the Cosmic Badger and Night Owl show. We used to do between 9 and 10 on a Wednesday. That's a memory, that is. I've not thought about that for years. It's just when Grandizer mentioned it there.
There we go. I mean, my gaming memories go back basically to Simon the Sorcerer, which you probably never played because it was out when we were preteens. But it was an amazing point and click game. That and oh, what's the other really big point and click game? Puzzle game.
Let's not give away our age here,
Well,
even though people know what my age is, pretty much.
Grim Fandango was one of my friend's favorite games. Monkey Island and Broken Sword. Monkey
I don't know,
Island and the Broken Sword games were fantastic.
I'm thinking Sega games like Shinobi and Streets of Rage and stuff. They were my first
Oh,
ones.
Streets of Rage. Sega. Oh,
Shinobi was cool.
yeah. Oh man, I miss those times.
Oh, I thought Grandizer. Yeah, Grandizer loves his Northern Soul, so it's Night Owl by Bobby Paris. I love Northern Soul. There's a film, Grandizer, called Northern Soul that was done over here. If you've not seen it, I recommend you do because the soundtrack's a banger. Yes, SW Line, you do have to give Houston more plays. More plays. I give him 15 or 20. I give him 15, maybe this one, see what he can do. And if you get some more sacks, hell, just keep sending them in there. Play guys when they're hot. Sometimes some games guys are hot and they just have really good games. But I would give him 15 plays at least. Let his snap count go up in a way that Penasini's did when he started getting snaps and started doing well. His snap count gradually went up to a starter load. Sadly, he got injured, but I would do the same with Houston. Whilst he's playing well, give him the snaps. It's not like Austin Bryant needs them. I mean, there's no Julian Aquara now either. I know Thingy's back. Oh God, why have I forgotten my second round pick this year's name? Pascal.
Pascal, yeah.
But Pascal ain't going to be fully fit, so give him some of Pascal's load.
Ash has just put in the college chat that Duke's coach has been voted AAC Coach of the Year, Mike Elko.
That is fully deserved.
Yeah, 100%.
They finished off the season with a win over Wake Forest. It's been a great season in college for the traditionally underachieving sides. UConn are going to a bowl game. Duke are going to a bowl game. Kansas are going to a bowl game. Lots of teams going to bowl games. Hey, Paul. Hope you're doing all right. We're just sort of chatting away at the end of our show here, but if you've got any questions, get them in. I'll answer them. Yeah, it's been a great year for the underachievers. Duke look a legit good college team this year. Kansas look like a legit good college team this year. See, even UConn have. Hell, even New Mexico State just got a bowl game. I know they've had 5 scrub wins, but still, it's been a year of the underdog. I think Hawaii got 4, and they were in shocking state this season. Half their roster walked out because of their old head coach. He had literally nobody this year. And he still managed to put some wins together. But yeah, I agree with the Duke guy getting his job. So
apparently, you are aware of the Michigan player, interior defensive lineman Maxie Smith.
the one who got done for concealing a gun.
Yeah, so I've just put that in the chat, but I don't know whether we actually put it in there. It's already been there. It has already been there.
So he had. It is very innocuous. I think he had a permit, but it expired and he didn't get it redone in time. But he has one now. I don't think it's anything. Not like in. Did you hear about Kittner's son?
Yeah.
Done for child pornography.
Yeah,
that's awful.
Isn't it? Yeah. I mean, so I saw some people in the chat saying, you know, it's bad no matter what, but it might not be as bad as you think. He's 19. If it's a 17-year-old who send him a nude, it's not so bad. And it's like, if that's what it is, then it is bad, and it's also really stupid. Don't put yourself in that situation. But it's a hell of a leap to go from that charge to saying, you know, this is the limit of what it could be in terms of not that bad. And it's like, but it could just be so much worse. So let's wait until we hear the full extent of what's happened. Because in its best case scenario, it's not great.
No. I've seen your question there. So Paul asks, do you guys think we take the USC QB in the draft? He is not eligible till next season. Caleb Williams.
And
So we won't
hopefully
be
we're
taking
not
him.
in position to get him.
Yeah, we won't. He's not eligible till 2024 draft, so we won't get him this year. And like Matt says, we'll probably not be in a position to get him this year. Brandon, I'm sorry I missed your question. He says Bryce Young comparison to Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. I actually spoke about this earlier. You probably weren't in, but for me, Kyler Murray's issue is his processing. His processing is not great at this level. He makes a lot of boneheaded decisions. And I love Kyler Murray. I really, really do love Kyler Murray, but he's not got it up there when it comes to his decision making, his process, etc. Bryce Young is his processing skills, the way he goes through all his reads on the field, the throws he makes, his ability under pressure. He is never phased at all. And for me, that puts him on a different level to Kyler Murray. You know, the height is not an issue. He's able to, his pocket movement is really good. His footwork is really good. He's always putting himself in the situation to make the best throw possible, which means the height is not an issue for him. In the LSU game, you know, it's probably his worst game this year. You can see him. He's throwing balls down the center of the field. He throws one through a guy on one play. It's absolutely amazing. I think he's going to be absolutely fine. The height is not an issue. The durability is definitely not an issue. He has taken punishment at Alabama this year. He gets up, he carries on playing, he carries on making clutch throws. It's beautiful. So yeah, I don't. He's only like Murray in height. For me, he's a completely different guy. Kyler Murray loves to scramble, loves to make plays with his feet. Bryce Young makes plays with his arm, and he's very cool and composed in the pocket. So there's a big difference for me between the two of them, despite the size difference, the size similarities.
I was right. Mazzy Smith is number one on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. I was right.
They've got a few good D linemen. They had the edge guys last year with Ajabo and Hutch. Now they've got the interior D guys this year. There's two of them. There's another one who's really damn good. I can't remember his name. Their center's going to be really good as well, I think.
He's returning, isn't he?
He's going back, but he's going to be.
Or is it the Penn? Oh, it's the Penn State guy that's going back, isn't it?
Oh, the Penn State guy's going back. I'm not sure about that, but chance to work with Drew Aller. I don't know. He's seen a reason to go back, so I'll trust him on that. The offensive line class ain't great this year, so it's the best chance for him to do it. But hey ho, we don't see Jake Moody. I am not sold on Jake Moody. I was, but he has missed 5 field goals this year. I think he's missed 5. So when you're missing 5, I start to get a little bit worried because I like that he plays in Michigan, the Midwestern connection. He kicks in the conditions he's going to be playing in a lot of the time. So I like that about him. He's made some clutch kicks as well, but he's missed a few this year. And that makes me a little bit concerned. And I hate to say it, but the Ohio State one hasn't missed that many this year. I can't remember his name, but he'll be declaring as well. Ruggles will be declaring. I think I had 3 kickers on my watch list this year: Moody, Ruggles, and there was a guy down at Nevada. I think it's Nevada's kicker. I can't remember his name, but he has a leg which kicks for days. He is one of the best long-range kickers in. So if you want a clutch kicker from over 50, it's the Nevada guy. I don't know whether he's going to declare or not, but Moody is interesting. I'm just worried by those misses. Michigan fans might know better than me because I've not watched all the games this year, but when you miss 5 in a year, I get concerned.
Yeah, right. I think I'm going to call it a night. I know there's another couple of questions in there, but I think I'm going to need to get on.
Now, if you got to go, then you go.
Yeah, I think so. Right, we are going to do a live watch along as we do on Sundays. I don't know if you're working.
I'm working, so I don't know. I'm working at 2. I'm working all weekend. It's such a pain. Yes, Paul, I do think we should draft a kicker, Paul. I will say that much before we go. We should definitely draft a kicker. Yeah, I'm working at 2, so my odds of getting away are not great. At least not till late in the game. It depends. I'll have to see.
There we go. Right. Maybe Ash or Drew or someone else will be about. If you guys in the chat want to come on and keep me company, then that's cool. Just hit us up on Discord. We'll see what's going on. Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday for the review show. Thanks for your questions and hanging out with us after the show. And good luck to the Lions or the Pats or whoever you follow in the chat. Miami in Grandize's case. Love you all for being here. It's been fun. Ant, any last words?
Go Lions. Hopefully we win again, and we'll see you on Victory Monday.
Victory Monday coming. Let's go, boys.
One pride.
One pride.